The show we've been waiting for. Brother Neil Frazier. Yes, indeed. We are going to get down on the extensive, detailed. Oh, I got too many computers on here. Sorry for the echo. Brother Neil Frazier, I'm
Hey,
glad to
brother
see you
Lance,
here.
how you doing, man?
Oh, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm good. Glad to see you and glad you're going to go in on this topic again because this is one of the shows, as you well know, that so many people said this is one I can't get enough of. So
Mhm.
I'm so glad that we're doing it now. Even though this is the shortest month of the year, we understand that this is not
Yeah,
just a monthly thing. This is a 12-month out of the year thing, or better yet, 13 months out of the year, not just
bingo.
24/7, but 25/8. All right, because we
Yeah,
built this place, and there's so
yeah,
much hidden, so much that has been taken and stolen and hijacked and used under somebody else's name on a legal basis, but it's us who have been doing it. And I'm glad that we can we can acknowledge and share some things that the public schools don't share, the universities don't share.
that's
They
right.
suppress knowledge to make us feel as though we didn't do anything. You know, they're beating up on us, but you know, we fight back with righteousness. We fight back with revealing the truth, and that's what you're here for. And I do have to say that I truly respect your attitude toward what you do because you come to teach. You don't come for clout, although we give you clout because you deserve it. You don't come with ego. You don't come looking for attention, but we give you attention because of your attention to detail, because you're about that work. You're about putting that work in. This is not an attention grab here. YouTube is so full of egos. YouTube is so full of, I didn't get enough hugs. Please acknowledge me. I got to have a gimmick to get money out of people. But you're silently putting in the work. These shows don't get put together because you put a few pieces of paper in front of you. You study, you research, you read, and now you're going to take the time to share with us things that many of us don't have the time to do because in the American system and beyond, it's a rat race. And we got to survive. We have to keep pushing. So for you to take the time to do this, we truly appreciate it. And you're not under anybody's directive to say, as with many of these professors in the universities, well, you can't teach that. You have to follow a certain curriculum.
Right.
You're independent. And that's even more of a reason to respect you and honor you and support you in what you do. That's just what I wanted to say. Thank you, brother.
Well, thank you, brother Lance, as always, for the kind words. And yeah, you're absolutely correct. Everything you said. Um, this show I had intended to do again, but I wanted to go back and look at it more in depth. I got a lot of emails after we
Yes.
did this show, and I just, I had to take the time this weekend. What I did, first of all, I want to greet you, brother Lance. Always good to be back with you. I want to greet the family in the chat room
Yes.
and everybody out there listening to us today. But I got a chance to watch Roots again for all 8 episodes. It's like 10 hours, maybe a little more this weekend while I was working on this. And
Right.
it was sort of kind of like a confirmation. And I think, well, not think, I know what happens with us is we get caught up into this space time continuum uh, where time doesn't exist, but watches and clocks exist. And that's what kind of
Mm.
keeps us in this barrier or these boundaries that surround us every day. But yeah, I always felt this is very important. One of the reasons why we have to stay focused on this is because I uncovered a lot of things this time around, brother Lance. I spent, like I said, more time with it because of the
Yes.
importance of it. And one of the things I saw was that now I see why they reward the degenerate behavior by young people so much. Now I see this, and the picture that I showed you. Um, I want to talk about that a little bit as well. Um,
Yes.
but right before you put it up, um, Yes, the name of the show today is it's about our great inventors and the astonishing inventions. And this is one of the biggest hidden secrets in the history of not just America but the world. Um, is the corporations and industries that are still thriving today, that's over 150 years old, that are a direct result of our great ancestors, both men and women. And we're going to celebrate them today. Like you said, we know Black History Month is every month or every day, however you want to look at it. But so be it. If this is the way that the information is going to get out, then so be it. Okay. If the only time you're going to recognize our great accomplishments, then we'll make the best of the situation. So, yeah, again, the name of this presentation, I'm going to take my time with it today. I kind of like locked out a lot of stuff. But this is certainly more important for us and our family to share and make sure, most importantly, that our children get this information because, as you said, it's not in the history books. A few of them are, but it's not in depth about the totality of this experience. So, Lance, if you would put up that picture for me,
Sure,
I just want
sure.
to give a brief synopsis of what we're
And
talking
just let me say it again, as always, if for some reason there's a power glitch over here and I get knocked off, continue
about.
on
Okay.
because this is the cloud and it doesn't affect the show. And I'll be back shortly, either on the phone or on a computer, just in case. Just in case.
Okay.
If you
Okay.
call to me and I will answer, that's the reason why. But other than that, I'm going to put the photo up and the floor,
Okay.
as always,
Okay, brother.
is yours.
Thank you,
Okay,
Lance.
there you go.
Now, as you can see, the caption on the top, it says, "Why are we not talking about this?" And I'll tell you why we're not talking about this. Because these three beautiful young Black children have the highest IQs ever recorded in the world. Now, I want that to sink in with you for a minute, okay? And I want you to take a good hard look at that picture, okay? Because that's our future. And I believe that because we have allowed uh, this time space continuum to take away what our purposes are on the planet, then the creator is going to and creatrix is going to skip over us and say, okay, we'll just skip over you and we'll make sure that it's passed down to those who will carry it forward. And again, as I said, the primary reason why this is not shown, because this goes against every single thing that they have said about our people to other races, cultures of people, because it's only one race, and all people came from us. But this is what they don't want to be seen, because this would go against the narrative of you being shiftless, lazy, and criminal. Okay, so I want to give a brief synopsis of before we go into our presentation today, um, and it'll set us up for what we're going to talk about today. But one of the biggest kept secrets in the world is the foundational wealth established by our great Black inventors, both male and female. Uh, we're literally talking about trillions of dollars from over 150 years of commerce generated by the corporate industries created from these inventions. In fact, today, because many of these inventions were made in the 1800s, believe it or not. Yet there are no, okay, so the point I wanted to make about that is that today these industries are thriving, okay, and they are still generating billions of dollars annually. Yet there are no corporations in the US or globally that bear the names of their Black founders. What's worse is that the descendants of these great men and women, okay, none of them have ever benefited from the tremendous global wealth that their ancestors created. And while we'll focus on and fighting for reparations, which we should be, they have effectively hoodwinked Black people economically. While they parade Black people before the world as lazy, shiftless criminals, they know that without your divine genius and creativity, America would not have become the powerful nation it became. And this hidden history is so profound that it defies the imagination, as we're going to see today. As I started to go deeper down this rabbit hole, honestly, I'm at a loss for words from what I continue to uncover. Billions of people around the world continue to benefit not only financially from these industries, but their quality of life have been tremendously improved. When I begin to look at the thousands of subsidiaries created by these industries, I saw something that defies the imagination. Every single one of these industries have benefited whites 100% in the creation of wealth, while at the same time locking Black people out of their rightful economic heritage. But moving into the future, like this picture you see here, the projected windfall from every single one of these industries is staggering. We're talking trillions of dollars here, and we're going to uncover this today. While millions of whites, Asians, East Indians, Arabs, and Hispanics that come to this country continue to prosper from the industries created from these inventors, the descendants of Black inventors and Black people in America are driven to the bottom of our society, both socially and economically. So the question today is, how are we going to teach our children about this important fact? Okay, this is again the reason why you are rewarded for your degenerate behavior instead of your intellect. And finally, America would be a third world or even a fourth world country, okay, without the contributions and genius of our great ancestors. And this is a figure, I hope everybody's sitting down. Okay, this is a figure that after calculating everything and figuring in, how money compounds through interest year after year and decade after decade. As of 2023, between 24.7 and $28 trillion have been made from these industries worldwide. This is one of America's greatest secrets. So you can remove the picture now, Brother Lance. Thank you. I appreciate it. But anyway, one of the first people that we're going to talk about today is one of the most celebrated physicians, not just in Black history, but in the history of the world. His name is Dr. Daniel Hale Williams. Our children should definitely know about him. This should be talked about by our people in all of the homes. He's a surgeon and physician, and he's known for being or performing the first successful open heart surgery. Okay, the corporate industry that was started by this act, okay, was heart surgery. And millions of lives have been saved since this first act was performed. The annual revenue between 2018 and 2023 is 730 million in the US. There are 1,172 hospitals that perform this surgery in the US. And I want to pause for a second because a lot of times we don't grasp the totality of what we're talking about here. And when I was watching Roots again, I was amazed. I didn't watch it before like this, but I was amazed at how they kept this dream alive of becoming who they knew that they were going to become one day. And they knew that they wouldn't even live to see this, but they continued to plant the seeds by telling every generation coming up after them who they are, what they, what the history of their family is, and how this is something that is the foundation or the root of who we are as a people. And when you consider the time that this was done in 1896, Black men still faced a lot of discrimination socially and professionally. Well, we know they faced it economically. But here you have a man, okay, that went out and performed one of the greatest acts that is still saving the lives of millions of people today. And see, when we glorify these other people, okay, and we're not even talking about the subsidiaries who benefit from this particular industry, okay, the heart surgery industry. But a lot of times, because the history books and we're so used ourselves of glorifying people that we overlook the great accomplishments of our people right here in front of us. Okay, the next person up is Dr. George Washington Carver, a fascinating man. He was what we call an agricultural scientist. The corporate industry started by his acts is the peanut industry. Okay, and he taught about preserving the fertile soil, which is not just important for growing peanuts, but also for everything that you plant. Okay, because you can't plant anything in dead soil and get a harvest. But interestingly, there are 89 corporations that up until 2021, it could be a lot more now, and 8,013 people are employed in this business. One of the unknown facts, well, they do mention this in the history books because they couldn't hide someone like Dr. George Washington Carver. Okay, that would be like trying to hide the sun. But the one thing that a lot of people don't talk about is he helped Henry Ford, okay, establish a lot of the information that he needed, the practical information to continue to build the Ford industry. Because what a lot of people don't know, like everything else, we look at the finished product and we're taught narratives about things, but you don't see what's going on behind the scenes. But he was a consultant for the Ford industry, okay, in which we know millions of our people established their lives in this industry, in the car industry. But he was someone that taught us about the thing about George Washington Carver is he exhibited the type of spirit that our true ancestors had. The ones who were given these gifts, like we are, that didn't bury them and did not trade their gifts for fiat and fame. And without men like Dr. George Washington Carver, who put Tuskegee Institute on the map, we would not have, you know, the world benefits from this. The peanut industry is a huge industry around the world. In fact, the annual revenue as of 2019 to 2023 is 2.6 billion now a year. Now, you have to keep in mind as well is that these businesses are still thriving today. Okay. And when you look at 150 years, and watching Roots kind of gave me again that idea of our connection to what we know as the past, which is really not the past. It lives in us today. Okay, this is another thing we're going to have to overcome, is that these things are connected and pass or flows just like in a river. Okay, and it's a great book called There Is a River, and it kind of gives the same theory. But yeah, Dr. George Washington Carver, we celebrate this brother today because of the great sacrifices that he made to establish one of the great institutions in the history of Black people, Tuskegee Institute. By the way, 3 of my brothers went there. And it was one of the few places that, you know, Black men or Black women, for that matter, could go, okay, and be taught. The other thing that Roots reminded me of was how that our people face the pain of death, okay, or great punishment just for reading and writing, just for learning how to read and write. So, you know, while our people are forgetting all this stuff and just, you know, not honoring our ancestors and the way we live like other cultures do, you know, we have this great legacy, okay, that has been hidden, but it's still here with us. The energy of it is here and is present today. I felt it this weekend, okay? Lance feels it every day, okay? People in the chat room, they feel it. But this is why they fight so hard to remove this energy from our people, where we feel they tell you that you're living in a modern time and that our ancestors, because they couldn't read or write, actually, that might have been the best thing for them, the fact that they couldn't read or write, now that I look back on it. The next person we're going to talk about is somebody that, you know, again, and I started out with these 3 great brothers because they are shining lights that you cannot be hidden, you know, and our people use a lot of religious rhetoric, again, because the Bible is the only thing that we could actually, and we couldn't read it, we had to listen to someone preaching it to us. But you're talking about up on a shining hill. And again, we're talking about men that lived during a time when they were denied the right to read and write, that were denied the right to earn a wage and provide for their family, okay? And that had to be, oh yeah, this was the other thing. I mean, Roots just, from a social aspect, it just brought out so much more. And because sometimes we lock away things that we know and are given because, and this is deliberately done because we're uploaded with so much garbage on a hourly or minute by minute basis now, that we don't even have time to focus on what we need to be focused on. But this brother, they couldn't hide. Because the fact of the matter is, well, first of all, he was an astronomer. He was one of the major surveyors of Washington, D.C., or the primary surveyor, and I'll tell you why. There would be no city called Washington, D.C. today if Benjamin Banneker did not have the great ability that all of our ancestors had gazing at the cosmos, at Orion's belt, at Sirius. Okay, he was able to interpret the stars. He was also he created one of the first farmers' almanacs, because again, most of our people were what they call tillers of the land, or farmers, okay, because this was our land. And he was able to do some fascinating things. But Benjamin Banneker would stay up all night, interpret the stars, okay, write it down, okay, for Thomas Ellicott, I believe his name was. They talk about two different people, but we know that Benjamin Banneker was the primary individual responsible for surveying and setting up the city of Washington, D.C. And then every morning, this other surveyor, who could only survey the ground, because you had to have a special gift, okay, to do that, okay? And we know our people have always had this gift from, antiquity. But yeah, so he would take Benjamin Banneker's notes, and then he would map out what was on the earth. But again, this could not be done without Benjamin Banneker's great ability as an astronomer to interpret the stars. But one of the greatest things that he's also known for is creating the first clock here in America. He actually, I believe it was up until a minute, where he synchronized the clocks, which was an astronomical feat at that time. Okay, and the corporate industry and that was started by this, of course, was the clock industry. And there are 132 subsidiaries, and 17,487 people are employed worldwide in the clock industry. The annual revenue is 12.1 billion globally. I'm sorry, in the US. Sometimes when I read this stuff, it's starting to jar my mind now. Because again, most of the time we don't get the full impact because we don't sit down and feel the energy of what we're dealing with. And this time around, I did that. But could you imagine $81.5 billion globally, and none of our people benefit from this? None. I looked everywhere. None of us do. Okay, the next brother we're going to talk about is Frederick K. McKinley Jones, an inventor, and corporate industry that he started was refrigerated trucks. Now, this is very important because most of the food, you couldn't sit down in a restaurant and enjoy a good meal with a family member or a loved one or a friend or what have you, business partner, without this brother, Frederick K. McKinley Jones. Okay. The majority of food delivered, you couldn't even shop at a grocery store, because the majority of food that is delivered to these stores and restaurants are delivered in refrigerated trucks. And he is, let's see. So there is Prime Inc., KLLM Transport, and Swift Refrigerated. Okay, there are 160,000 companies and subsidiaries in the refrigerated truck industry. There's 47,176 people employed worldwide in this industry. Okay, and there are 500,000 refrigerated trucks in the US alone. The annual revenue is 600 million and globally is 407 billion. So what you have to wrap your head around is when we factor in the social impact, not just the economic impact of these great inventors, then we see something totally different from what, you know, we saw before, which is these are great Black inventors. Yes, but look at the impact that literally these 70 inventors, Black inventors, had they not lived or invented these inventions, the world that we know and enjoy so much today would not exist. And I would debate anybody on that. Next up, we have a brilliant sister, Dr. Shirley Jackson, who is a someone that lost to history, to our history. Well, when I say lost to history, she's not really lost to the history books, because again, you know, here's the creative spirit that you can't hide. Okay, this cannot be hide. I don't care what you do. But she was a brilliant sister. She was a nuclear physicist, one of the first. In fact, she was the first Black woman to earn a doctorate at MIT, one of the institutions that, you know, we hold in America as, you know, one of the best. Of course, you know, that can be debatable, but nonetheless, we'll go with that. All right. She was also responsible, the corporate industry that was started as a result of her inventing the touch-tone telephone, okay, was Touch-Tone Communications and Business Telecom, Inc., okay, two of the largest touch-tone telephone companies in the world, corporations. Interestingly enough, she also was a reason why the solar industry, which I worked in, is as big as it is now, and is doing so many things for so many people around the world, in areas like the motherland, I believe in South America and different places where the solar industry is now being used to help improve the quality of life of people. But she also came up with the solar cells, okay, that are responsible for solar panels, okay. Also, the portable fax machine. Remember, in the early days of business, you couldn't do business without a fax machine unless you, you know, had to mail something, okay, or have somebody take it to that person's office, okay. And this is a tremendous leap forward for mankind, okay. As I said, solar panels, the technology created by these solar cells that she invented, fiber optic cables, caller ID. Can you imagine living in a world without caller ID today? And call waiting. The annual revenue for touch-tone phone industry is 5.9 billion. Now, this figure about the solar industry, the global and the US, okay, sales is astonishing, to say the least. Okay, the solar industry in the US is the annual revenue is $234.9 billion annually. Let me say that again. The solar industry in the United States generates $234.9 billion in the United States. Okay. There are no solar panel manufacturers owned by Black people. None. Zero. Okay. And globally, it's 167.8 billion. So when you wrap your head around this, now that's as of 2021. Okay. So as you begin to wrap your head around this type of fiat year to year that's generated, and then you look at the condition of our people. Well, by the way, the homeless population is increasing amongst our people. This is something else they want to hide. Okay, but I know the statistics on this. And what's being done, okay, is that they're they are driving Black people to the bottom of the socioeconomic ladder. I don't care what they say on TV. I don't care nothing about no Grammy Awards and none of that stuff. That is not doing anything for our babies that we just showed, who has the highest IQ ever recorded in the world. But guess what? That's not going to do them no good, because you're too busy twerking and doing other stuff and carjacking people. Okay. So you've been shaped like a lab rat to do all of these degenerating things when we have our babies, okay, who have the highest recorded IQ in the history of the world. Okay. That we don't have anything to give to them except them becoming rappers, basketball players, or football players. I don't have anything against sports. Sports has been good to me in my life. I've also been a coach, so I'm not putting sports down. As a matter of fact, if it wasn't for sports, our people would be more locked out of this system. But we've always, like Fiddler in Roots, provided entertainment for the larger society. That has been one of our roles. I remember Dr. Amos Wilson always hammering this point, is that the fundamental relationship that we've had with whites throughout our history is still the same in every category, not just economically. But we honor this sister today, Dr. Shirley Jackson. You know, sometimes when I look at sisters like her, it's frustrating. I'm going to be honest with you. The way that they have, and I'm not going to put all of this on our sisters, okay? I'm not doing that, because we dropped the ball too, me included. But what I'm saying is that because we don't hold people like this sister, a nuclear physicist, as someone for our children to aspire to, and as they say, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. Well, guess what? We've wasted, I don't know how many millions of minds. Okay. And it's been said that the greatest potential on the planet, I believe Dr. Miles Monroe made this statement, is in the graveyard. Because the majority of our people die without ever using their purpose to make the world a better place, because people have taught you that to be an animal is better than being someone that represents the spirit of the creator creatrix. And also a term that I've heard from pyramid builders to project dwellers. But see, this is all in our minds. And this is why I often say we cannot pass this down to our children. We are the ones that are building the communities that we have. We are building this through what we glorify. And we always glorify trash and garbage. The next person we're going to talk about today is Lewis Latimer. He's somebody, again, they couldn't hide from the history books because of his great contribution to society and the world. The corporate industry, in fact, he invented two inventions that have revolutionized the world as we know it today: the light bulb and the air conditioner unit. Now, imagine if you didn't have light bulbs. Let's say if I cut this light bulb off here. Okay, and let's face it, when you get older, like me, lighting is important. Okay, we already only see 10% of light, visible light. So think about the tremendous impact that this invention had on the world. And see, a lot of times they want to downplay our great ancestors. Okay, but we know how great they are. They know how great they are. Because without the light bulb, we'd be living in a different world today. We'd be living in a Neanderthal type existence, okay, in a dark cave somewhere. The other great invention is the air conditioner. Now, the air conditioner provides relief for billions of people around the world. Could you imagine living on the East Coast or in the South in some of these places? The only difference with California is they don't have the same level of humidity as the East Coast and the South, but it gets hot. Okay, well, I can't say that because places like in Central California and SAC, they get really hot. And so, but could you imagine even in places like Chicago, New York, DC, Baltimore on the East Coast where you have this high level of humidity, Georgia, Florida, all those states back east, could you imagine not having an air conditioner? And see, these are the things that they know about our great ancestors because they invented things that impacted the quality of life, not just for Black people. Okay, hear me good. For every single individual living on this planet. Because if you want to try to imagine this world without an air conditioner, okay, and even in the motherland, in places like South America, in the Caribbean, in Jamaica and Haiti, and places where it's extreme heat, okay, could you imagine if this brother had never lived, had never invented this, what our world would be like today? And this is the thing that I wanted to bring out today that I didn't in the first video we did and went through about this, is that we're looking at quality of life issues, not just economic issues, although the economic issues are the number one single thing that has affected our people, not only in this country, but throughout the world. Interestingly, the light bulb, there are 149 corporations, 221 air conditioner corporations, 1.7 million. Now, these are figures from 2022. 1.7 million employed globally. And again, this is one of these staggering figures that just make you say, okay, this is a form of robbery. Okay, this is like strong arm robbery when you just take something from somebody without using a weapon. Okay, this is strong arm robbery against our people when I read these numbers. Okay, that we didn't and we don't benefit in any way from these inventions by our ancestors. The annual revenue for the light bulb globally is $120 billion. In the US, it's $30 billion. But again, I hope you're sitting down. In the air conditioning industry, in the US is 78 billion, but globally it's 310 billion. So let me say that again. The air conditioning industry, which was started by our great ancestor Lewis Latimer, who all our children, there should be pictures, while they're on these devices, and they should be looking at him. And they should be told that without this great brother, okay, there would be no air conditioning, and there would not be people benefiting $310 billion globally from this invention. So you're starting to get the picture now. You're starting to get the picture. Because even, and I'll be honest, in the beginning, actually, by me watching Roots, it stimulated something in me that wasn't there before. Because again, you have to look at the time in which most of these inventions were invented between I think the earliest was Jennings in 1826. Up until 90% of them were created up until 1896. I do know that. Okay, next in line, a great sister, Marie Van Brighton Brown. Okay, the corporate industry that she started was the home security alarm system. So every time you feel secure in your home, you have to thank this brilliant sister, Marie Van Brighton Brown. The home security alarm system gives billions of people around the world and millions here in the US a sense of comfort in their home, in their businesses. Okay, because now naturally the technology has evolved where, a silent alarm can go out and then you'll get a response in regards to, whatever the situation is. So we have this brilliant sister to thank. Okay, the companies in the US, and these were figures from 2020, 57,238. But amazingly, it employs 191,000 people in the United States in 2023. The annual revenue of the home security alarm system in the US is 34.6 billion. Globally, it's 52.8 billion. So now, now we've just only covered 7 of these inventions. So I want you to start along with me looking at this, okay, for what it really is. Okay. These inventions, okay, are the greatest inventions, again, created on this planet, and they were created by our ancestors, but none of their descendants directly benefit from these great inventions, and none of the Black communities have any companies bearing the name of our ancestors on them. And if somebody can find one, please send to me, okay, at academyofnature1@gmail.com, because there's a lot of stuff that they hide from us because, for whatever reason, we're just not interested. We're interested in this other crazy stuff, that garbage that they show us. Okay, Otis Boykin. Now, this brother was an electrical engineer. In fact, he's been called a electronic wizard. And like the other, the first 7 inventors I named, they are in the first 5, because 2 of them, they're not in that category. They're in a different category, like Dr. Williams, and also not Carter G. Woodson, but George Washington Carver. Okay, they're in different categories, but this category, basically, they're in the National Inventors Hall of Fame. Okay, and again, because of the level of discrimination that existed during this time, this was a great accomplishment. But Otis Boykin, the corporation that he started, was the pacemaker. Okay, the corporate industry that was started as a result of this invention, the pacemaker industry. Also, he was responsible for the early IBM computer, also the first TV and radio chips. But now he invented something that has an astonishing impact on the world. Okay, the semiconductor. Okay, now let's talk about the first invention, there are 30 global pacemaker or implantable pacemakers companies around the world. There are 3 million people around the world, in the US, that live with pacemakers. Okay, I don't know what the figure is around the world, but we already see the impact here. 3 million people live with pacemakers. Okay. Also, there are 740 chip manufacturers that employ 154,228 people. Again, these inventions created corporations, okay, that gave a quality of life to a certain group of people that they would never have had not these inventions been created by our great ancestors. Okay, so the annual revenue, and let's talk about, we're going to get to the semiconductor, because this is one of the greatest inventions in the history of the world. Okay, but the annual revenue for the pacemaker is 5.7 billion in 2023. Now we get to the one of the most astonishing things that exists, or I should say, one of the most astonishing creations that exists in our world today, the semiconductor. And the global sales for this is $500 billion. So let me say that again. It's actually $5.774 billion in 2022. Okay, it's probably to $1 trillion by now in just 1 year. But wrap your head around that. We're talking about a $500 billion annual industry that the revenue that is generated does not benefit Black people, okay, in places like Africa, where our people reside, wherever in the Caribbean, wherever our people reside, and primarily here in the United States. And we're talking about $500 billion. Okay. There are how many companies? Okay, I couldn't get a number on the amount of companies, but the semiconductor companies accounted for sales totaling $275 billion, okay, in the US alone. So we're talking about $250 billion. And so you see, this is why, I mean, this is robbery, man. There's no other way to put this, and while we're fighting for reparations, we should be, because our ancestors generated some of the greatest wealth ever created here on the planet. Okay, that is without a doubt. Okay, we know this. But here's another thing that was done to our people that we don't even talk about, that they never talk about. The theft and robbery of our great inventors and their creations that has created this tremendous wealth. And we're going to talk about the amount that I calculated, that I may have been off by about $5 trillion. Because again, once you started going down a rabbit hole, then they begin to hide certain data, because then they realize, oh, this must be a black person trying to get this kind of information. So this is why it's imperative for us, okay, now to focus on and reclaim what is rightfully ours. Okay, so why don't we own a subsidiary in these global industries that all of these other cultures that I named, okay, are benefiting from? I don't care what they say about this, okay, they are directly benefiting from it, while at the same time, our government is showing people that come to this country degenerate things about our people that are not true. In fact, you're talking about maybe 10% of the people in our culture. Most of our young people in our culture, and well, even more so than a lot of adults, okay, are striving to be productive citizens. And they believe in this system. This is what's so heartbreaking, because they're going to be destroyed. And let me rephrase that. Okay, I'm not going to put that energy out there. They're going to have to fight harder than they would have to fight if we would just tell them the truth. Okay, you don't have to add anything to it. Tell them the truth about our history. Okay, and stop letting people put these narratives into their heads. Because you see, our children are the only thing we have to save us, because the adults, we have proven that we're not. It's not that we don't have the ability to do it, but we're so focused on, fake stuff, okay, and plagiarized stuff, that we can't even deal with each other on things that are significant. So this is why we have to start now investing all of our energy into our youth. We should have been doing that a long time ago. Okay, but and when I say invest time, you don't even have, all you have to do is tell them about our great ancestors. Talk to them about what we're talking about today. Explain to them that they are responsible for the quality of life, not no person sitting up with a suit on and a briefcase, and these corporations that have stolen all of this fiat from our people and wealth from our people. No, those are Harlequins. Okay, the original people responsible for what is the greatest wealth in the world and created is right here, what we're talking about today. And when they have that inspiration, you will be astonished at what because there's nothing you can do anyway. They don't need you to do anything but tell them the truth, and stop sugarcoating stuff and making them think that they can climb the ladder, and that no. Okay, even if you teach them to build their own, it doesn't have to be this big. I remember a guy emailed me one time, and he said, "Oh, well, how could you say you have a school or an academy? You don't have a physical build." No, he said, "Where can I go if I wanted to cook?" Because some people, they're not interested in your growth and development. They're interested in sabotaging what you're building. Okay, they're not interested in that. or they want to, because the truth of the matter is that because of the state of our people, we only trade with each other for 16 hours a day, which is crazy to even think about. We don't have the ability to purchase buildings to be, but trust and believe that the Academy of Netherone is an independent school. And as Lance said earlier, that gives me the ability to talk about what I'm talking about today without somebody, okay, threatening to take away any certification, threatening to take, pull me down off of any social media platforms, okay? But even if you have something in a little corner, it's yours. And like a baby, you are the one responsible for blossoming it. And this is the lesson, okay, that people like George Washington Carver and Benjamin Banneker taught us, okay, that we're not teaching our young people, because we're teaching them that this fiat, which is getting ready to collapse, well, it's already collapsed, you just don't know it, is something to aspire to. But the reality is, no matter how much time we spend in the metaphysical world, the reality is they have to go back to these same people that we were sharecroppers or are sharecroppers for, to beg them for jobs. You take a place in the Bay Area, there are a lot of black men that are unemployed. That's why the crime rate is the way it is. I'm not justifying it, but come on, let's be real about this. If you live in America, and we see this from the migrants that come here, and you don't have, I guarantee you go 2 days without eating, oh, you're going to change your mind about crime. Okay. And this is deliberately done. It's like putting animals, okay, in a cage and having them fight for a plate of food. All right. The next person we're going to talk about today, a brilliant brother, actually the founder of the blood bank, okay, Dr. Charles Drew, a celebrated physician. Again, this is a brother that, you couldn't hide his son, okay. He started the plasma blood bank, also the mobile blood bank, and also the ability to have blood transfusions, which saves a lot of lives, particularly when you have certain diseases, okay, that we won't mention, but we know what we're talking about, that this is critical in saving lives. There are 2,400 institutions, okay, that benefit from the blood bank. 9,500 are employed. And as I said, blood transfusion saves lives every day. The annual revenue in this industry is 2.1 billion. Globally, 16.9 billion. And I'm not talking millions, I'm talking billions. So just the fact that our people are in the condition they are in is a travesty. It's a deliberate act to sabotage our people in all areas of human activity. And this is why I can understand why our people continue to hold on to this religion. Okay. I can't understand it. Okay. Because these same people that have taught you, okay, all these things are the ones that are responsible for what I'm talking about today. And, it is what it is. The next brother up is Thomas Jennings, a brilliant brother. Okay, in fact, he was the first man. It's been really cold here in Cali, bro, Lance. It's a lot of rain going on. These storms, man, it's been crazy. My little peanut head get cold quick, so I have to keep something close, that I can put on. So this brother Thomas Jennings, a great inventor, he was actually the first Black person that was granted a patent in the United States. Okay, the corporate industry he started was the dry cleaning business. There are 33,000 dry cleaning companies in the United States, individual ones. And again, this is one of those inventions that without it, the quality of life, people would be wearing a lot of wrinkled suits. Okay, so next time you see somebody in a nice suit, or one of your children see somebody in a nice suit, said, oh, you see how nice and pressed that suit is that gentleman is wearing, or that lady is wearing? A Black man is responsible for that, okay? Because he invented, okay, the mechanism responsible for dry cleaning, okay? The annual revenue in the United States is 11.8 billion, but globally, the dry cleaning business, and I suspect it's because of Asians, because a lot of them have dry cleaning businesses here in the United States, a lot of them here in California too, is $106 billion. Okay. $106 billion. And by the way, it takes 1,000 billion to make a trillion. So most of these industries are already at this point. And these are annual figures. So again, like I said, when I tallied up, it took a long time going back and looking at how the U.S. interests, I did it by decade because I could never have enough time to do it by year. So I got a close figure, but I'm going to reveal this figure soon. But I just want to continue with this because this is, they talk about reparations, man, but they owe us reparations, bruh. This right here, they have hidden from our people. And if we took this to the Supreme Court or whatever the process, there are a lot more people that know more about the law than me. But there's a process, and I'm sure that this could be brought out, just like reparations, that we can effectively now deal with this. But Thomas Jennings was, it was the first Black man to get a patent here in the United States. Next up, let's see here, is Marion Crook. Okay, this sister, a brilliant sister. She's also in the Hall of Fame, the National Inventors Hall of Fame. The corporate industry started was the voice over technology. Now, this technology, okay, is very important because it revolutionized the way that the quality of how we communicated via devices. Okay, so the subsidiaries such as the advertising, the gaming, well, these are not subsidiaries, these are other corporations that were created as a result of this technology. But we certainly know we have thousands of subsidiaries that benefited from this as well. But the advertising industry, the gaming industry, broadcasting, education, and financial services. Now, this industry employs over 1 million people. Okay. The annual revenue in the US as of 2021 is 1.5 billion. Next, we have another brilliant sister, Lisa Gillespie. She's a computer scientist, engineer. The corporate industry started by her invention was that she developed a software for the first online videos. Now, this is huge because the videos that we see today that Brother Lance that we're doing, this sister is directly responsible for this. And again, these are teachable moments for our children. When they're using these devices, you can go to them and say, okay, and they can even Google this for proof and say, this sister, Lisa Gellerter, a computer scientist and engineer, developed the software for the first online videos. And that is a revolutionary invention that even today is growing bigger and bigger. And when you look at, when I quote the figures here for the gaming industry, it's just otherworldly. But she's most noted also for the shockwave technology. Let's see, this, okay, which was responsible for creating the earliest interactive multimedia platforms. So this is why we are able to go on multiple different platforms, and why they are can be synced together is because of this sister right here. She actually pioneered several internet technologies and created products that are used by billions of people. The annual revenue in this industry in the US is 57.2 billion, and globally is 26.2 billion. But the video gaming industry is a 214.2 billion dollar industry. That's a $250 billion industry. And these are annual figures. So you're starting to get the picture now. All right, people have been real. I believe I miscalculated, Brother Lance. I came to around 25 to 30 trillion dollars that was generated by inventions. I think now that I'm starting to look at it again, it could be in excess of 80 to 100 trillion dollars, brother.
Why not? I mean, there's the unknown factor of what wasn't tallied off, and then they use legalities to take an invention and pay off people pennies, or just outright steal it, and we'll never know.
Yeah,
because exactly, it's just like when I said the simple one, heavyweight champ Jack Johnson, he made the wrench.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And the funny thing about it is, I've said it before, and for those who haven't heard it before, this is why they were so mad that Jack Johnson, who was beating all of their champions and running with their women, is a way of telling his nose that they were so angry that they called it the monkey wrench. This is why they call it the monkey wrench. Yeah. So when you say wrench, don't say monkey wrench, y'all, because they were calling the black man a monkey. But they were mad because he made the wrench, and instead of using the wrench, but they had to slip that in and call it a monkey wrench. So anytime somebody says that, correct them and teach them something.
That's a good point. That's a very good point, Lance, because a lot of times we regurgitate things and don't even know the origin of it. Don't know why it was said, what it means, and that it's a derogatory slant towards our people. But and this makes you think about how is it, what kind of people, like Kunta Kinte was asking Fiddler on Roots, what type of man would cut off the foot of another man trying to run away from this type of violence perpetrated against him and his family every day? What type of person would do this? And as I look at this, I'm thinking to myself, what type of people would do? Because I only have myself, I only have my heart to look at when it comes, because we don't know what's in another person's heart. We only see what's manifest. And then people can fake you out, with what they think you want to hear or see, right? But when you try to think about what type of people would do not only the things that were done against our people, but the people that are responsible for you having this quality of life, that is responsible for generating this type of wealth, that you and your family and your descendants enjoy and continue to enjoy? What would
Exactly.
make someone in their heart want to drive the people responsible for that into the bottom of society? What would do that? It has to be jealousy. It has to be some form of jealousy and enviousness. There is no other answer for this.
Yeah. And the fact that many of them know more about our us than
Hmm.
we know about us. And that's why the jealousy is there. That's all it could be. They know
That's
a
all.
lot more, and it's not anything mild either. It's major stuff. When you look at history, how hard they've come against us, how much information they've suppressed. Now we have the internet, which is a double-edged sword. It's been used for bad, but it's a lot of good that's come out of it. That things are being revealed, and it's helping also to wake up enough people, but not well, a lot of people, but not enough. But
Oh,
their
you're gonna
whole
be shocked about the internet. We have some inventors that they have kept from the world. Okay. They're going to be shocked. But sorry to cut you off, brother, but you know how it is when you
no,
get
no,
something,
no. Go ahead.
hear something,
Let's
you
flow.
got to jump on it before you forget it. But
Oh no,
yeah.
no. I was just saying that when you look at the amount of energy taken, even before the internet came around to teach us some things that they didn't want us to know, not only for hundreds of years, but thousands of years, and in recent centuries, lie about it collectively. See, we speak about what we've
Exactly.
been through, in the last few hundred years, but this other stuff, along with particular type of torture, breaking up our names, taking us away from our sense of spirituality and giving us these religions, and to also lie about us and to give us the propaganda for us to believe something less of ourselves while knowing how great we are, that even still in our decadence. Now listen to this one closely. I don't want people to really okay, what happened here on the screen? Okay, no, my hand touched the thing by mistake.
Okay.
I don't want people to get this the wrong way, but I'm going to say it this way. Even we display greatness in our reduced state, that
Yes.
even when we are not in our right mind, even in the decadence, we show a brilliance, but that's the only place they'll allow us to show our brilliance is in a reduced state where, if left alone and not pushed and pumped up like a drug with the negative low vibrational stuff, and allow that greatness to grow in the soil of a higher vibration, they know they can't catch us. They always have the feeling like that person who's running after the bus that never stops. And that's what they don't want to have happen. That if we can be who we are at the highest vibration, left alone by them, oh man, even they would benefit. So they would
That's a
really
powerful
chop
statement.
off the foot to chop off the leg to spite the foot. So that's sickness right there, because they want to be first in line. And we're not even saying, as us, as our people, we're not fighting anybody else to stop them from getting some greatness.
No,
But why are we spending
no.
so much time and in the mental sickness of denial? Right? You know how great we are. Dig up them books from the bottom of the Vatican. Give us the things that you stole, and then you want to rewrite history, and then you want to put things in our bloodstream, give the kids propaganda, twist around the rainbow, have us hating on a woman, have us wanting to run with another woman, have some of us wanting to be a damn woman. You work so hard to mess us up. We must be the sugar honey iced tea.
Wow. Well, that was powerful right there, brother. Because boy, you hit it. You hit the nail right on the head. The word you use collectively says it all. So for all these people to think, when you think about a system, there has to be a collective effort to keep a system going, operating. Okay. You can't tell me that you can be this effective against a people with this system if you didn't have millions doing what you have put into motion in order to keep them that way. And also, I always bring this up, what Dr. Amos Wilson said, is that in order for 8%, 8 to 10% of the people in the world to control the other 92%, by necessity, at least 40% of the people that you are controlling has to participate with your decadence. They have to.
Mm.
And then on top of the point you just made, even though you only give us the ability to operate with maybe 20% of who we are still shining bright and outshining you. Because
you chop us off at the knees and we're still winning the race.
Yeah. Chop your knees off and you still win the race.
And see, I don't mean we're actually winning in their system, but we're doing, as much as us have been oppressed and suppressed, what we show with that is a greatness, even with those who are not really aware. What I mean is that you're putting 100-pound weight plate in a knapsack on our back, and you're asked to run a race. And while we're not coming in first place because of that weight, we're still pushing the one who won. You understand? So I'm not saying we're winning, but with under duress, we're achieving because they know the obstacle course they put on us. And this is why I say with different jobs, and when I was going for corrections, the psychological, the background check in New York State, when I was going for the state corrections up there, they have a prejudice upstate against those down in the city because 90-something% of all inmates in the state system come from 5 boroughs areas in New York City. So they look at us as a city of thugs.
Oh, yeah.
Now, why I'm blowing this up is because when I was going through, which I didn't get the job, on a technicality, I passed everything. Now that I opened up the Pandora's box, I have to say, when the cops beat me down and those charges on me, right, later to be reduced, my lawyer lied and said if I was to get disorderly conduct and just take it, and I took it because I was not doing well, and I went on trial and lost, I'd get 3.5 years on a lie. I said, you know what, let me just take this. I know I don't get in trouble, but they lied and said disorderly conduct, but this, which wouldn't allow me to get a firearm in state corrections, right? I went down to Florida and got corrections. But what I'm saying is that during the interview process with the different factions of things that they grilled me on, the guy was like, the different ones were like, how did you remain so clean in New York City? And so that tipped me off to how they think. And it's like putting you in an impossible obstacle course that they know you're going to lose, but you did well and you won. So they look at me oftentimes like I'm a ghost. Mm-hmm. Why didn't you get caught up in different things? Well, my upbringing and my parents and my home and the clean friends that I still have, that made a difference. But they don't expect much of us because, see, they know what they put out there for us. Mm-hmm. And they bombard our minds, and your mind truly is the most powerful thing you have. People talk about prayer. People talk, where does the prayer come from? The prayer means focus. And where does the focus come from? Taking charge of your mind, because your mind, I've found out on a physical level, you can make yourself do anything above and beyond if your mind is strong and trained well enough. You can beat down giants physically. You can outthink scholars, and they don't know what kind of school you came from. Even if you don't, the stick-to-itiveness, the grit, the spirit, when you have all of these attributes, you don't need validation from the enemies, universities, and factions. Yeah, now
That's
if you
right.
trying to fit in a job in there, understood you need a certification or whatever. That's how they do. But know that you can achieve anything, especially in this day where there's so much information. I teach myself something new every day.
Yes.
I was
Absolutely.
hungry to learn when I was a child. I'm hungry to learn now, and I'm still hungry to achieve. And there's nothing that's going to stop me. Every single day, I move up several notches, a degree more than what I was the day before. And this is where we got to stop accepting what they
Yeah.
put out as what achievements would be. Like the three youngsters there that have the highest IQ in the world.
In
Why
the world.
don't they push that? Why don't they rap about that? Why don't the actors in Hollywood talk about that? They don't talk
Exactly.
about that. They're not allowed to talk about that. This is why the majority are controlled by the minority.
Yes.
And it's not just one thing, it's on code. There's no way that you can have this firewall of ignorance up unless it's ordained like a mafia hit on us. They smile but move on code. And we can't even do that. It would be nice. Why should we have to
Would
validate
be.
or interrogate one another? We should cite, look out for each other. But so many of us are trying to get ahead by getting more baubles and trinkets and rubies and materialistic goods and status in this world, and it ain't doing a damn thing for us. And until we understand that, we'll forever fall into the quicksand of death. We're always going to do it. And it's like we don't see it. So at this point, you need to focus. We need to focus on those who are about it because we cannot
Agree.
save those who love the comfort of decadence,
I
the
agree.
sweetness of sin. We just gotta go for the shiny red things. We can't avoid these things, these seductions, and sacrifice and deny ourselves these things that are not going to be good for us as a people in the end. And these people they're letting in the country,
Oh.
they're there to replace us, overtake
Yeah.
us, and literally kill us. And this is what I want
Yeah.
to share really quick. This is information that was given to me. I hope it doesn't happen, but it came from a very reputable source in New York City. They're not talking about this now, but there was a police precinct that was robbed of the majority of their firearms, bulletproof vests by migrants.
What?
By migrants. And you are not hearing that on the news. And I heard that
Wow.
from a reputable source. Don't be surprised any day now. We have some kind of mass, whatever, publicly, or some kind of takeover or something. It had to be an inside job.
It had to
For
be.
you to go into a major
Yeah.
police precinct and get all of that stuff out, and now
Yeah.
they're not talking about it. Because
Wow.
now if they talk about it, then now we're aware and there's going to have to be an investigation. But no, nobody's talking about it. And that's by design. It's just like those
But
people
that's
who
what
Kanye West had a problem with never went to the World Trade Center that day. Why? Why did every one of them, when they have so many offices, Rubenstein and Silverstein and all those Rubinow and Finkelstein, all them names, law offices, businesses, and none of them showed up the
Dick
morning when them
Gregory
planes
talked about
crashed?
that.
See? Go ahead,
Dick
brother.
Gregory talked about that.
Mm-hmm.
Remember?
Yeah.
He said he got a call from somebody telling
Right.
him not to show up that day, and that all of those people you just
Right.
mentioned
Right.
were not going to be there.
Right. So this is what you do. Whenever you go somewhere and you do not see any one of them, get the hell out of Dodge. Because they're not gonna hit you off with the information. And these are people who look you in your eye on
Yes.
these jobs and in these offices. And I'm not showing up. We got to keep this quiet. You can come, to hell with you. That's what it is. So this is what you are as a people, and you talk about being God's chosen? Really and truly? You see? So there's a lot of things. Just like my father always told me, he was born and raised in Jamaica, and he
Hmm.
always said, well, if you see the birds go around and eat different berries, you can eat it. But if you see them avoid certain things, do
Right.
not eat it. So now, if you see those people not around, always keep, when you work around them, like the bigger cities, and they all didn't come into work that day, get out. Get out.
That's a
Get
good
out.
point. That's a good point. Because yeah, I mean everything you said. That now that's crazy about those weapons. That is an inside job. There's no way you
Yep.
can go
We
no
might
go
hear
to.
about it, but you know what? I get a lot of information fed to me.
Uh-huh.
When it's reputable, I'll share it. If it's quackery, I'm not saying anything. I get a lot of quackery, but this one here, maybe we'll never hear about it. Maybe nothing will ever happen. But as far as I'm concerned, it happened. What are those weapons being used for, or what's the plan? What's the
What's the plan?
plan?
What's the
What's
plan?
the plan? You
Yeah.
know, there's an intention because of that. Whether they're just going to go around and rob bodegas and corner stores, I don't think so. And if and it has to be an inside job. How are you going to go into a police station, a police precinct, and freely
That's
go
not
in and
possible.
take all of this stuff? Not just a weapon missing. And when there's a weapon missing, you get in trouble because there's a chain of
Absolutely.
command.
Absolutely.
There's people over the arms. I remember when I used to do hospital duty before they had a hospital team in the jail that I worked in, and you had to carry a firearm. And so
Mm-hmm.
when there was a inmate who was in the hospital, maybe he had a fight, maybe he was sick, maybe because the police arrested him and had to beat him down. He came to the jail, got booked in, and they had to take him straight to the hospital. So if he's
Oh
there and
wow.
going to be there for a few days, when your shift came and you volunteered for that, you had to go and get your firearm and go take the corrections vehicle and go to the hospital and relieve that officer.
Oh yeah.
So
Okay.
his
Yeah. Go
weapon,
ahead,
he
brother. I'm
left
just
it.
plugging in some juice.
Yeah, yeah, no problem, brother.
Yeah. No,
So yeah,
I'm good.
so what it was that a lot of guys being lax, the weapon is heavy,
Uh huh.
and it's around your belt, and you have other things on your utility belt.
Right.
So now when you go to the restroom, because they're shackled down to the to the bed, lots of guys would take the weapon off and because you sitting down doing a number two, they take the weapon off and sit it down on the ground and pull up their pants when they're done and forget the weapon in the daggone hospital room and leave. And sometimes a nurse would find it. Sometimes the next officer would find it. Sometimes if they had their cell, you better come back and get this weapon, man. Because if you
Oh
get
wow.
back there and you don't have it, some would leave. So what happens if this guy got out and took the thing? So what I'm saying is that every single weapon is to be accounted for, and that's your job.
Yeah.
No matter where I would go,
Yeah.
I'd sit by my apartment at that time and say, "Listen, I'm going to my apartment. Well, no problem. As long as you're coming back with that weapon, you got it. It's your responsibility. Do what you want with it. You face the consequences." So for them to do that, I'm just putting that out there. Maybe that's something you'll hear about. I've said things
Yeah.
before that I'm not trying to be the prophet. I'm not trying to be the guy. I just want to pass that along. I can't say names on who,
That's good
but
information. No.
yeah, just heads up. Heads up.
So now we
Because them
know.
coming here like that is definitely a plan.
We heard it first on the LANCESCURV show.
Right. Right. Maybe they're here to kick off a civil war. We don't know. But I've never seen nothing like it before in my life. But go ahead, brother. I'm sorry.
Okay. No, I mean that was good information to know, brother. But this sister Lisa Galopter, who was a computer scientist and engineer inventor. As a matter of fact, she is in the National Inventors Hall of Fame. She was responsible for the first online videos, as I was saying, and also the shockwave technology, which is responsible for the earliest interactive multimedia platform that we see today. She pioneered several internet technologies and created products that are used by billions of people. Okay. The annual revenue in the US is $57.2 billion. Globally is 26.2 billion. And the video game industry is $250 billion. Okay. $214.2 billion. And this is something, again, when we see our children on these devices, it's a teachable moment. Okay. Because, again, our children don't know that Black people invented these things. Okay. The majority, 95% of them, are not in the history books. So unless you tell them about the greatness they have in them, they're going to look to other people who plagiarize greatness. Okay. Jesse Ernest Wilkins. This brother was called a mathematical genius. He was an inventor. The corporate industry started was the machine lens to detect X-rays and gamma rays, which are harmful to humans. He actually developed software that detected radiation amounts absorbed in the body or by any material, which started the electromagnetic radiation, or blocked, or let them know the amount of electromagnetic radiation that is being absorbed by the human body, that it can actually damage organs and kill you. The companies and subsidiaries that benefited also from this discovery or creation was the medical imaging. So every time you go in a hospital, you with your little kid, you let them know that if they have to take an X-ray, that it was a Black person that was responsible for developing this software. Jesse Ernest Wilkins Jr., a mathematical genius, okay, that they use X-rays in the veterinary field, in medical, dental, industrial, okay, medical imaging, and also in security, okay. And this prevents millions of deaths a year from radiation. The annual corporate revenue is $3.6 billion. Now, the X-ray detector market alone employs over 1 million people. Okay, and it created thousands of medical device companies. So again, just piggybacking on something Lance said, is that you have to have a collective effort, okay, when you are suppressing truth. And there has to be an enormous amount of people in that system that agree to perpetrate this lie. Okay. So again, people still believe that, some people have our best interests at heart. Okay, that might be true. Okay, but that still doesn't mean that you should not think as a collective, okay, when you're trying to move forward and achieve something, because you have millions of people that are actively and effectively blocking your growth and development, not just your personal growth and development, but all the people that look like you. The next brother is Elijah McCoy. Now, this brother was brilliant. Okay, he had over 50 inventions. Okay, he actually all right. So he had over 50 inventions. Okay, but the one that he actually is known, well, there are a couple of them he's actually known for. Okay, is the lubricating cup for engines. So this is very important because prior to this invention, okay, and I saw a movie one time where this happened, okay, where if they had this little pin trying to keep the engine from separated from the engine and causing it to overheat. Well, he kept by creating this lubricating cup, it kept the engine, lubricated, okay, and cool in order that, engines wouldn't overheat. And this was an extremely important creation or invention. The other inventions were the movable ironing board. Now, imagine if, you wasn't able to move the ironing board. But there was another system we'll talk about that was responsible for the actual invention of the ironing board. But he kind of also kind of upgraded it. Like many of the inventions, the reason why you don't recognize them in their original form, because as technology increased, of course, over 150 years, there's going to be an upgrade. Hell, they upgrade stuff every year now. He also created the lawn sprinkler, okay? And there are 48,811 water supply and irrigation systems in 2023, or businesses in the United States. The annual revenue for all of these inventions is $16 billion. Where did I get 600 from? $16 billion. The lawn sprinkler industry by itself is a $2.7 billion industry. Next in line is one of our favorites that, again, this brother could not be hidden from the history books, Garrett Morgan, because of the very, very important inventions that he created. The first one, which we all know, is the traffic light. In fact, without the traffic light, it would be impossible to drive in big cities. Okay, that would be impossible. Well, in any city, regardless of how big it is. Okay, so we see the immediate impact globally of this invention by this brilliant brother, Garrett Morgan, who should be, I mean, there's not enough words for this brother, because that invention alone revolutionized the world. Okay. The other invention that was very, very important. Okay, so we know that over 500,000 people are employed in that industry. Okay, but the other major invention that Garrett Morgan invented was the gas mask. This is very, very important. That it allows the military, firefighters, and law enforcement to protect themselves from harmful gases. The gas mask was also a revolutionary invention. And it also helps the average citizen, if you're in a situation where you have to use a gas mask. Okay, so we're talking about preventing millions of lives as a result of this invention. In 2023, the traffic light industry was $28 billion in the US, and the gas mask was $1.8 billion. Okay, so, as we go along and we start to tally up these figures, it's looking more like $50 to $80 trillion, if not more, that these industries continue to generate over 150-year period minimum. Okay, and again, I could not calculate on a yearly basis. I had to do it on decade by decade using a lot of different factors. But we clearly see, okay, with these statistics over the last 5 years, that Black folks have been hoodwinked. The biggest theft in the history of the world right here today. You heard it on the LANCESCURV show. The biggest corporate theft in the history of the world was done to Black folks in America. Okay, so let's talk about number 16 on the list, Mary Mildred Davison. another brilliant sister inventor. Her corporate industry that she was started as a result of her invention was the sanitary belt and the toilet paper holder. Now, a lot of people don't realize how important this invention is, because it allows billions of people globally to conveniently use toilet paper without having to get up, you know what I mean, and to have sanitary conditions by having this sanitary belt where you can carry the sanitary items that you need. And these are things, quality of life things that we don't think about, that's very important to our everyday lives. The annual revenue generated from this industry globally is 3.5 billion. Next, I want to get this brother's name correct. He's a Nigerian American pathologist. His name is Bennett Efekan Dumoa. Okay, that's the best I can do, guys. Brilliant brother. He actually discovered CTE. Okay, this chronic brain injury. Okay, that now is part of the protocol of all sports, particularly in the NFL and boxing. In fact, Will Smith did a movie in 2005 playing him, to honor him. And he's a Nigerian American pathologist. He was the first to discover this. And also, the corporate industry started with CTE, which prevents millions of athletes around the world from sustaining further head injuries. Very important. Shout out to this brother. This is something very important that was recognized in our world today. Athletic competition can be very grueling. It can also cause life-threatening injuries. But this helped to add a sense of security with our athletes today. Next up is Morris McKinney. Now, he was the inventor. Some people might remember from the first video we did about this. He actually invented the vehicle SMS code, which we know now today. The LoJack corporate industry was started as a result of this. So if you have a LoJack on your car, be thankful for this brother, Morris McKinney. Okay, if your car is lost, or not lost, is stolen, that it can be located, not just by authorities, but also by you. Okay, and this technology is very critical in our world today. Okay, but this brother is responsible for it. So every time you put your LoJack signal on, alarm on, or put one physically on your car, realize that Morris McKinney is responsible for this. Now, over 25,000 people globally are employed as a result of this invention, which actually immobilizes cars, and it also pinpoints the location of the vehicle. Globally, it generates 17.5 billion. In the U.S., 11.3 billion. Okay. Next up is another brother from, I believe he's from Togo, Dr. Philip Emekwali. Okay. One of our brothers from the motherland. He invented the world's first super computer, which is the forerunner of the internet. Okay, this is the birth of the internet. I don't know how many black people know this. Okay, but in 1989, he created the technology for the world's first supercomputer. Okay, which has the capability of calculating at 3.1 billion calculations per second. And this, without a doubt, changed our world forever. Okay? And see, there are a lot of our children that don't know this. Okay, and again, this is our fault because, as Lance said, they are fighting to suppress this. Okay, so while they're fighting to suppress this, we should be equally fighting to upload this into the minds and devices of our children. This industry accounts for over 12 million. It employs over 12 million people in the tech industry alone. It accounts for 10% of the US economy, and the annual revenue is $1.9 trillion. I don't need to say anything else about that. Okay, so you do the math. And we're talking about from 1989 to today. Okay, the annual revenue, $1.9 trillion. So that alone takes this into the stratosphere. Because if we calculate 40 years, or let's see, 33 years, if we count 34 years, if we calculate that, because we're talking almost $2 trillion, okay, a year. Oh yeah, I really underestimated. Oh my God, we're talking over $100 trillion that was stolen from Black people. You know, that goes way beyond reparations. Okay, this goes way beyond reparations, and somebody needs to talk about this, because now, trust and believe the people who perpetrated this crime against humanity, our people, know this. They have to know this. Okay? And also the supercomputer server industry. Globally, it's 44.2 billion. And in the US, it's 16.3 billion. So we're talking, oh, wow. We're talking $2.5 trillion a year. Oh yeah, we're looking at about these inventions. When you figure in this one industry and all the other industries that we're going to discuss, yeah, we may be approaching about over $150 trillion, Brother Lance. I severely miscalculated. Here we have next George Robert Carruthers, an inventor, a physicist, an engineer, a space scientist. Very interesting, brother. He's in the NASA National Inventors Hall of Fame, and he was a NASA scientist. The corporate industry he started was the spectrograph and the spectrometer, which basically allowed him to make the first detection of molecular hydrogen in space in 1970 using a sounding rocket. Now imagine that. Why is this brother not more well known? Why is that? You think it's just by chance that he's not more well known? I would beg to differ. He developed a rocket instrument that obtained a UV image of Halley's Comet, an instrument with two cameras with different 4 UV wavelength sensitivities that was used on the STS-39 space shuttle mission in 1991. This is another thing that we never hear about that. The ultraviolet camera and the spectrograph was the first moon-based observatory. Now imagine that. Why haven't you heard about that? The very first. providing they went to the moon. The fact, you know, and that's still up to, you know, up for argument. But nonetheless, he created this instrument that was the first observatory. Okay. And he developed it for the Apollo 16 mission. And supposedly they used it for ultraviolet electrographic a camera which obtained images of electromagnetic radiation in short wavelengths. Okay, so we know that a brother that has this type of comprehension and understanding of how the universe works off electromagnetism was able to conceive this invention. Okay, a mind is a terrible thing to waste. The annual revenue is 14.97 billion in 2021. The projected growth by 2030 is 28.3 billion. Because again, these industries are going to continue to grow, and our people are going to continue to be deprived of the rightful benefits of these inventions. One of the reasons you may not hear about it is because they tried to give this credit to a German scientist, which was debunked. And also Isaac Newton is given credit for part of what he actually invented. Okay. Next we have George Tolliver. George Tolliver is in the Inventors Hall of Fame. He's a great inventor. The corporate industry he started was the ship propeller, okay, which he patented. Okay, and they call it the marine ship propeller. But could you imagine the global impact if this propeller was never invented? Okay, the global marine propeller market, the largest market is in Asia and Europe and China. Asia, Europe, and China. Okay, so could you imagine the effects on a global scale if this brother did not invent the propeller? You couldn't go on your Carnival cruises that you enjoy so much. The military would not have ships, okay, to fight in wars. And the commercial use of ships alone to transport various goods, you know, and products around the world. So you get the picture. So the annual revenue globally, which I don't believe, is listed at $350 million in 2022. Next up is Henry Sampson Jr., a nuclear physicist. Excuse me. A nuclear physicist, okay, that he created an invention that is so very important to us today that I cannot express the importance of this invention. But once we talk about it, you'll know how important it is. Every time you pick up a cell phone, you have this brother Henry Sampson Jr. to thank. Why? He invented the technology that allowed the invention or the creation of the cell phone, or the technology that drives the cell phone. The gamma electric cell that is used in cell phones. Okay. The direct energy conversion device, okay, that converts the energy generated from the radiation of high energy gamma rays into electricity. Now, this was a brilliant brother. And in fact, he was the first Black person to earn a PhD. He was the first Black person to earn a PhD in nuclear engineering in the U.S. This industry is, so let's look at a couple things here, because these are staggering figures. He also co-invented the gamma electric technology that is used to create the cell phone as we know it today. Okay, he worked together with another black inventor, Jesse Russell. Okay, and George Malley in 1971 to create the cell phone. They were the cell phone pioneers. Okay, the cell phone industry is projected to go in 2024, get this, to $5 trillion. There are 28 million people employed in this industry. And you see, the more I start to look at these figures again, I vastly miscalculated, because this is unbelievable. When you look at, by the time we end up going through all of them, this may approach somewhere between close to $250, $300 trillion. Okay. When you talk about the fact over 150 years, okay, at a minimum, that these devices and this technology was invented, okay, and the annual revenue of them over 100 years that is continuing to make money at a higher rate. Oh yeah, I sorely miscalculated. This is something that needs to be addressed at a higher level than I'm at. I don't know, maybe there are people listening today that have that ability, but certainly our people were jacked. Okay, I'm talking about, and now keep in mind, we're only talking about 70. There are over 150 black inventors in the history of the United States. Now wrap your head around that. We're talking about 70 today. Okay. So, I mean, even I underestimated the impact of this. So wrapping this up with this brother, again, this is an astonishing figure. It's projected to go to $5 trillion in 2024. And the gamma ray cell, electric cell, that was created and invented by Henry Sampson Jr. is the technology that's used in the cell phones we use today. Okay, next in line. This brother right here is fascinating. Keith Black, good name. Is a neurosurgeon in LA with Cedar Sinai Hospital in LA. He specializes in neurosurgery and brain surgery. And he was recognized in Time magazine in 2015 as one of 21 of the most influential people of the 21st century. All right. And this is an amazing accomplishment because over 200 brain surgeries are conducted by Dr. Black a year. But he has done something that no one else has done. He has performed over 4,000 brain surgeries in his career. This is the most by any surgeon in history. So, we have greatness walking amongst us. Again, where we listen to these narratives and look at other people when we have brothers and sisters that have contributed to the greatest financial wealth in the history of the world. Okay, the annual revenue generated for just one health system is $3 million. Okay, moving right along here, we have next Dr. Betty Harris, one of my favorite. She invented an explosive detector. Okay, the services that use this is our military, transport, aviation, and robotics. She generates 5.1 billion globally, is projected globally, and I'm sorry, 11.1 billion by 2027 is projected globally. It currently is bringing in annual revenue of $5.1 billion. The reason why I said she's one of my favorite is because this was a male-dominated area in which Dr. Betty Harris, so our young girls she should be one of their sheroes. Okay, not somebody winning a Grammy Award. That's fine. Okay, I'm not saying that they shouldn't aspire to be entertainers if that's what they want to be. I'm just saying we have to stop pigeonholing our young people into these areas, okay, where they have effectively put us in a 90-degree angle of interpreting the world when we are 720-degree beings when you factor in the metaphysical capabilities that we have, which a lot of our brothers talk about. But at the least, we are 360-degree beings, okay? So that alone puts you in a atmosphere, okay, or a dimension that's different from what you have been pigeonholed into and our young people are pigeonholed into. Frederick M. Jones, an inventor. Now, he invented something that we all are very thankful for today as well, the thermostat control. He's in the National Inventors Hall of Fame, and he is the winner of the National Medal of Technology. This brother invented this device, this thermostat control device, that is something we don't even think about today. We just go in, we adjust the temperature. But again, these are teachable moments. People say to me, well, what mechanisms, what can we use, what methods, is a better word, to use to teach the children, okay? But we have been taught to teach our children in an inferior way because, believe it or not, you have been taught in an inferior way, okay? Nature is our greatest teacher. Our children are kinesthetic learners. They learn by doing and seeing. That is because ultimately, it is not somebody giving you directions and instructions that is the way to learn. The way to learn, and this is why I believe in student-centered learning. I don't care how you arrive at the answer. This is how people control you, how you act, what you do, how you think, because they tell you if you don't follow the way that they have designed something, then that's a wrong answer. I know because I personally got in trouble in school over this, okay, where someone was trying to tell me, I arrived at the answer, and rather than being happy, they were upset that I arrived at the answer this way. I believe I remember Lance talking about him when he was in school with the art school where art and design where or either in high school. I remember you mentioning this, that you were penalized because you arrived at the answer by your own, way, your own genius, not by something saying where you got to do it.
Right.
And, I strongly believe that the reason why this is done, well, I know this is a reason, because the people that are teaching you do not have this ability that we have. So it stands to reason that they would not reveal, this gift that you have, this ability that you have, because then no matter how old you are, this would elevate you to a position that they would see as over their ability to teach you. Because what most people don't know is the teacher is actually the student, okay? Because every single individual that you teach, you are learning something from, even if it's something negative. So we have got to get beyond this ego-driven, because we know that people with a God complex are ego-driven. So of course, they want to be given the credit, okay, for generating your knowledge. When we know this is not true, true learning and knowledge comes from within, not from without. So this is the way we teach our children. You walk by a thermostat, you say, "Oh, well." One of the issues we have with this is, okay, we're not focused on what we need to be focused on. We give the choice, the choice of our kids learning from us to the school system. That we give them a choice. You know how we give them a choice? Because we don't offer anything other than what they learn in school. That's how we give them the choice, which is backwards. Okay, we're supposed to be the ones that are directing them in terms of how to interpret things correctly based on their natural gifts and abilities, because their natural gifts and abilities, as we saw with our 3 babies, is what gives them the highest IQ in the world, not what some narrative that you're regurgitating to them. Okay, we have got to stop this. But again, the reason why we can't teach our children properly is because we're focused on the wrong things when it comes to them. Now, I understand, I get it. Okay, they have to think about the fiat. They have to think about that. But one of the reasons why that takes precedent over everything else is because that is what you've been told is your purpose in life. Okay. Now, finances come as a result of you putting your gift out into the world for people to benefit from it. There are people that only you can reach. And this is the way we have to start to begin to teach our children. There are a lot of teachable moments. Okay, but again, we are blindsided by the things, the garbage that is uploaded to us every day. And then we pass this down to them. So we have to be more concerned with now teaching our children correctly. And they're kinesthetic learners. Our children can look at something and explain it to you. They don't need to read nothing to explain that to you. I talk to children every day, young people, and I ask them about something just to see how they explain it. They look at, oh, that blah, 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 blah. They don't even have to read anything. But you've been told that they have to. The main reason for this is because they are being indoctrinated to work and make other people wealthy and rich. That is the main reason for that. Not to think to build their own. Okay, like the children from other cultures, they're taught to build their own and work with their other people in their culture in order to make it grow and develop. We're taught because we're following the people that have 300 times the wealth we have, okay, and by the system that they use, but we want to teach our children that same system, okay, that you pull yourself up by your bootstraps on an individual basis. And this cuts, I like the word you use, Lance, the collectiveness, okay? And collectiveness takes away the need for you to have to be the head nigga in charge, okay? All you have to do is bring your gift to the collective consciousness and everybody will benefit. We don't need nobody to be in charge of telling nobody what to do. This is what you learn from the overseer mentality. And I saw this plainly in Roots. And in fact, I want to mention something that was a little twist to it. I never really noticed before, but there was a young white guy came from poor whites. Him and his wife, they were hungry, and they went into one of the supply houses to steal bags of food. And Chicken George's son, Tom, caught him. But he ran out before the white people came in and saw Tom with the food in his hand. They broke his ribs, okay? And then he went back home, okay? His mom and wife had to take care of him. And lo and behold, who knocks on the door? The white boy. Okay, he said he was hungry, him and his wife. Now, he had just, and this is, how people have generosity and heart and compassion, because this is a part of our nature. No matter how much you've been taught to be evil, you're not naturally evil, okay? And I know a lot of times we have to put on this front because we're dealing with evil people that could literally take your life. You have to put on this front, but it's not necessary all the time with each other, okay? We need to stop this, okay? But so he was hungry. Now, Tom could easily said, you know what? You're the reason why they broke my ribs, why I'm sitting here in pain. But guess what they did? They fed them, okay? They fed him and his wife, all right? So they went and they asked the people that owned the farm, the plantation, if they could live there. And the plantation owner said, okay, yeah, fine. You just have to be overseers. He didn't even know the Chicken George's two sons had to teach him the language of overseer. So we know that people are taught this. That's why when I see young white kids with all this hate, they're taught this. Somebody taught them this, okay? So the young white kid that went in Buffalo, New York and killed up all those people, and the one that went into that church and killed up all those people in South Carolina, they were taught this. They weren't born with this, because this white guy, this poor white guy and his wife, he didn't even know how to be overseer. And so they was laughing at him because he was saying, could you please go over there and pick up that water for me? And Tom said, no, we're slaves. If you're overseer, you got to learn how to talk to us, and you got to call us a nigger. If you call us by our name in front of Mr. Harvey, you might get lashes. So he said, I could never do that. They said, well, then you don't want to be an overseer. You don't want to be on this plantation. And more importantly, you don't want to live. And so eventually, he learned how to be an overseer. He faked it. And so the point I'm trying to make is the things that these young white people that have all this hate in them, they are taught this, okay? They are taught this. And the people who are responsible for this are denying that they're teaching this to them, which is a lie. Because ain't nobody going to walk in no store or no church and kill up a whole bunch of people if they were not taught this. Okay, so miss me with that. Next we have Dr. Patricia Bath, another sister that I admire. This is something that somebody that our young girls, from the time they can read and write, should be shoved in their face. Because when they're looking on TV and on these devices, I don't have nothing against Asian doctors or Indian doctors or white. I don't have anything against them. But they're not seeing Black female doctors anywhere. This is why they desire to go into these guttural opportunities that are presented to them. This is why. Because they don't have any other images to look up to. And again, whose fault is this? So in 2024, we're moving beyond blaming other people, okay? We're moving beyond that. We know they are responsible for this system. We know the wickedness and evil they perpetrate. But now we have got to come to the point where we are taking back our power that we have given to these people. Okay, but Dr. Patricia Bath, ophthalmologist, is the inventor. she's a laser scientist, okay, but she invented the laser probe and cataract devices that allows you to remove cataracts off of your eyes, so to remove blindness. This is a major, major invention. This woman, they should have schools named after this woman, Dr. Patricia Bath. There should be Black girls, young Black women idolizing this woman. In fact, she was one of the first advocates for curing blindness. Okay. I feel like I'm going blind every day. But she should be glorified. This sister should be glorified. In fact, she was the first woman to lead a postgraduate training program in laser cataract surgery. This profoundly changed the world. The annual revenue in this industry is $13.6 billion as of 2023. Okay. A brilliant sister. I marvel at some of these sisters because they, again, not only had they had to deal with prejudice in terms of skin color or ignorance and being degraded, they also had to deal with the feminine side of it, where we know through white male misogynistic thinking that women are regulated to certain things in our society. But yeah, that's a sister, man, that I hold in high esteem. Next, let's talk about one of my favorite people, George Crumb. I told this story. I told this story on one of the videos, the other video that I did here. He was a chef, and he actually invented the potato chips. Okay, the corporate industry that he started was potato chips. And how this came about, it's a nice story. A customer complained that fried potatoes were too thick. And so he went back in the kitchen, and he started to cut them up very thin as possible as could be allowed without breaking them. He sent it back out to the customer, and the rest is history, because we know potato chips are sold all over the world. Okay, and it's the annual revenue in this business is industry is $11.1 billion. Nice story. So again, to answer a lot of questions people ask me about, well, how do we teach our children effectively, where they're not caught up into, this Eurocentric way that we've always been taught and that now we're trying to get away from. We teach them as their greatest ability to learn, as kinesthetic learners. Okay, we get a potato chip and we hold it up in front of them and say, George Crumb, a Black inventor, okay, is the reason why you're eating this potato chip today. Okay, this is how you effectively teach a melanated child. Next, let's look at Kenneth Dunkley, a physicist. Now, this is a brilliant, brilliant brother. He invented the 3D glasses, okay, in the corporate industry that he started, okay, also, which is a part of the gaming industry, as well, is virtual reality. Virtual reality. The holography field, which invented and patented three-dimensional viewing glasses. Okay, and this is the forerunner of virtual reality. The annual revenue is $14.85 billion in 2022, and it is projected to go to 24.3 billion by 2030. Moving right along, George Alcon, okay, a physicist, inventor of the X-ray machine, okay, which he was a atomic molecular physicist. I'm sorry, George Alcorn. The corporate industry he started was the X-ray spectrometer. He's a NASA Goddard Award winner, 1984 Inventor of the Year. The spectrometer drives sales in two of the largest industries in the world, the pharmaceutical world, okay, and the biotechnology fields. Okay, so again, if our people knew these things, well, even if you know it, if this was something that we would actually teach our children, we see a difference in what we see with our children out here in the streets trying to survive in a society and system that is set up to destroy them, to destroy their minds. It employs hundreds of thousands of people. The annual revenue is $14.8 billion. Okay. Moving right along, let's look at Dr. Judy Reed, another fascinating sister, because today when you eat pizza, a lot of our people like pizza. Okay, a lot of our children like pizza. Matter of fact, I still like pizza, although I know I can't eat too much of it. She invented the dough kneader and the roller. She was the first Black female to receive a patent in the U.S. in 1880, patent number 305474. It is extremely important that we teach our young girls about Judy Reed, okay? Because Judy Reed had the courage, okay, to step into all of the things that she was facing in 1880 and apply for a patent and invent something, okay? She was the first Black female to receive a patent in the U.S. Why this woman is not celebrated, I don't know. And again, you know, I'm looking into ways that the Academy of Nature can put things out. I'm so grateful for my brother Lance, who actually makes it possible for me to put out the message of the Academy, him and his wife. And so I'm very grateful for
I'm
that.
glad you're here.
Yes, sir. You know, our people sometimes, we overlook a lot of stuff, man. We overlook a lot of things. But I know that there are people that have much more ability than I have to get this message out where it needs to our young people. Why we're not doing this is dumbfounding. And in 2024, the greatest thing that we have to do is to not dig the seeds out of the ground, but to manifest the seeds that are in the ground and germinate them before the world. That is what Black people have to do now. Okay. And for too long, these people who envy us, have jealousy in their heart and hate towards us, have kept our seeds in the ground. That day is over with. Okay. So I need our sisters to step up to the plate, okay, and teach our young girls about people like Dr. Judy Bath and Judy Reed. Okay, we sorely need this. From what I'm seeing from our little girls on videos, man, this is crazy. This has got to stop. Okay, and we are the ones that are directly responsible for this. Okay, the annual revenue is $7 million in this industry. It could be higher. I couldn't find too much statistics because, again, when you start talking about the first Black female or first Black anything to receive something back in the 1800s, oh, surely they're going to hide that. Okay, so there's a lot more about her I tried to find for you guys. But next up is Norbert Rilliux, an inventor. He was a chemical engineer. Now, this brother revolutionized the world as we know it. Again, he was one of the ones that they could not hide. Okay, he invented a groundbreaking machine that actually squeezed sugar juice from sugarcane. Some of y'all from the South, like me, you know about sugarcane. Okay, or Jamaica and other places. He actually was responsible for this machine that converted the juice from sugarcane to solid sugar cubes. Okay, this was a groundbreaking invention. And today, the sugar industry is huge, okay, all over the world. Okay, the annual revenue, he's also in the National Inventors Hall of Fame. The annual revenue is $15.7 billion. Next, another one of the sisters that I like to celebrate, Sarah Boone, an inventor. She invented the ironing board. Now, we saw earlier where the brother invented, he actually upgraded it to the movable ironing board, but she was the first inventor of the ironing board. The corporate industry that she started was the ironing board. She was also a dressmaker from North Carolina, and she had to escape to New Haven, Connecticut, because they wanted to persecute her, okay, for, can you imagine that? Something that will benefit people, because it was a black woman, they persecuted her. And she had to take her family in the middle of the night and flee, just like in Roots, and escape to New Haven, Connecticut. Patent number 473653. And it is responsible for $13.2 million in the US. Now, here's another brother that contributed something that is very, very important to us today. He invented the electro microphone. Okay, and the electro microphone, okay, actually improved the and changed the quality of phone reception, the telephone. And the electric microphone that he invented was patented for the Bell Laboratories. So we all know about the original Mother Bell or Southern Bell and how it expanded all over, the country. And it was his brother, James West, that was responsible for this. The annual revenue for this invention is $6.3 billion. Next up is Valerie Thompson. This sister is responsible. She's a data scientist for NASA, or was. She invented the Landsat program, which is a revolutionary program for NASA, because she was the first to send images from space with this invention. The corporate industry that it created was the 3D hologram that you enjoy today. When you look at holograms, guess what? Tell your children, this sister, Valerie Thomas, a data scientist for NASA, was the one that invented that. See, again, these are teachable moments right in front of us. But again, we have to get away from using the narratives and the way of teaching our children that the people who suppress their intellect use. We have to get away from that. All they need to know, all they need to be done is to be shown the results of the invention and then put a name and a picture with it. Because I guarantee you they know the name of every rapper there is. I guarantee you that. Not only that, they know the songs. Hell, I heard a 3 or 4-year-old singing a song that I didn't even know. So, in 2024, we can't blame people no more. Okay, we have the game plan. We have the playbook. We have brothers like Brother Lance. There is no excuse for us anymore. We have brilliant people like in the chat room. we have to step up our game now. We have to move from high school athletics to the Olympics, okay? Because we already been to college, to trade school, because we learned we got our PhD in the streets of hate towards our people. So now we need to move to Olympic status, okay? But some interesting statistics about this. She invented a way to transmit three-dimensional images or holograms that appear to be real, okay? This sister, Valerie Thomas, invented this. She also developed a computer network. This is very extremely important to our world today, not just from an economic standpoint, but from the ability to effectively communicate and synchronize things where you get instantaneous communication. She actually developed a computer network that connected research stations of scientists from around the world to improve scientific collaboration. Okay. She contributed to the development of SPAN, which is a Space Physics Analysis Network, for research related to Halley's Comet. So we see she collaborated with this other brother that was a scientist for NASA. And I believe it was there was a movie. What is her name? Something Henson, Tahaji Henson, I think. And it was called Hidden. I can't think of it the name today, but I'm sure some people that know about this. It was called Hidden Something. Okay. Hidden Genius or Hidden Something. But they were one of the figures, I think, was Valerie Thomas. And I think Tahaji P. Henson played her in this movie. Okay. Which you don't see that much anymore. But she was a brilliant, brilliant sister. I mean, there's no other way to put it. And scientists around the world know her. Okay. You might not know her, but trust and believe scientists from all walks of life know this sister's name. Okay. She and just the ability for them to collaborate scientifically around the world was huge, or is huge. Okay, so also the one other thing that was very critical to us on the planet was her work on discovering how the ozone layer is being depleted. Okay, and how supernovas affect the universe. And this was very, very important to us today. Moving right along, George Cook. A lot of people that's out there, Brother Lance, did you want to comment on something?
Oh no, I'm enjoying the ride. I'm just sitting here, just chilling, listening to you flow.
Okay.
I'm here though.
Okay, brother. Yeah. So there are a lot of people. Believe it or not, I've never been fishing, but there are a lot of people that enjoy fishing for relaxation or to eat primarily. But the funny thing is about it is that they regulate this industry. Yeah, you'll get arrested for fishing and getting the wrong fish, which you have, by the way, you have to have a gaming license or hunting license to do it. So, that take precedence over a lot of things that, involve us. Okay. But this auto fishing device, automatic fishing device industry, he patented in 1899, and it improved the fishing leisure for millions who love to fish. The annual revenue of this industry is $20 billion. William Richardson, an inventor, the corporate industry started was the baby carriage. A lot of women can be thankful for this brother. Again, teachable moment. You see a baby in a carriage. William Richardson, a black inventor, invented the baby carriage. Okay, millions of parents benefit from this invention. So again, we see a situation where our people are downplayed. Okay, these great inventions that impact the quality. Could you imagine having to tote a baby around all day? Without, some of these babies are heavy, man. I saw a baby the other day that, boy, had to weigh at least 40 pounds. And I was like, imagine if you could not put this baby in a carriage and wheel the baby around. You definitely would have to be lifting weights. Okay, so these are the types of things that we need immediately when we see this, and we have our children with us to jump on. Okay, but again, it takes awareness by our people now to start focusing on the things we need to be focused on and let this garbage go. Okay, and this is how these people are able to keep up with your intellect or to suppress your intellect. It's because they got you focused on this nonsense. And believe me, I'm not putting myself above nobody. I have to deliberately fight against this, the desire to watch some of this stuff myself. Okay, so think how hard it is for the children. But the annual revenue of this invention is 3.3 billion globally, 2.0 billion in US dollars. Okay. Next up, we have Powell Johnson. Now, don't let her name fool you. This is a sister, Powell Johnson. Brilliant sister. She was an inventor. She invented the safety goggles, okay, in 1880. Well, there was a lot going on in 1880. It was a vortex that was open for our sisters because in 1880, they was on it. Now, imagine, many of them were still sharecroppers or slaves on plantations, okay, working 69. See, this is why there's no excuse for our people today. Working from sun up to sundown, eating chitlins because they couldn't eat nothing else. Okay, they couldn't even eat the vegetables that they was pulling up out of the ground for white people to sell and make money off of. They had to eat chitlins, hog guts. Not only that, they had to clean them. Could you imagine the smell of intestines? Yeah. But even with all of this, as you was mentioning earlier, Lance, where, we only are able to function at 25% of our capacity because they are beating us down with so many different things, and we still are able to achieve. Now imagine that. But this was the first safety eye protection glasses in the world. Think about that. There are several industries that use them, and they are very important, including iron workers, construction workers, firemen, furnace workers. You try to work on a furnace or as a fireman without protective eye gear, or any of these industries without protective eye gear, and see what happens. You won't have any eyes, at least, So this is Powell Johnson is very, very important, even today. So when they try to suppress, the greatness of our people, we don't have to go back into antiquity. Oh, there wasn't black people, there was this and that. Okay, well, look at the ones here. Are you going to deny that they're black? Because they revolutionized the world, not just in antiquity, okay, but throughout the annals of history. Our people have been at the forefront, no matter what you say in your history books, of the economic wealth created in this world and in America. And I'll debate any one of your so-called scholars on this, and the quality of life that all people in America and around the globe enjoy this day. Not in Kemet, here. So if you want to put up this silly argument about, well, no, there wasn't black people that invented blah, blah, blah. Well, yeah, what you going to say about this? Okay. that we know you have strong armed and human jacked our people from. Patent number 203517, improve the safety for billions of people around the planet. Annual revenue, $17.8 billion. Leonard C. Bailey, inventor of the folding chair, 1899. Corporate industry, I'm sorry, hold on, I made a mistake here. Leonard C. Bailey, the inventor of the folding bed, not chair, 1899. Okay, so, you know, the ability to fold up a bed is a huge convenience. Okay, it saves you space. You can even, you know, transport it. If your favorite bed, if you can transport it, if your vehicle is large enough. And these are life-changing quality of life inventions that your ancestors created. While people are trying to call you a criminal and trying to put you down, you know, you need to focus on this, okay? The annual revenue globally, 4.2 billion, 1.9 billion in the US. You notice that the majority of the inventions that we discuss generate billions of dollars a year. You notice that? Not millions, billions. Okay, moving right along. George Sampson. Okay, George Sampson was the inventor of the clothes dryers. Now think about this. I remember, you know, my parents and stuff, even though we had a dryer, my mom used to like to hang clothes on the line because the sun was hot, you know, whatever. But imagine a world without clothes dryers. Okay, another teachable moment. George Sampson. You go to the laundromat or you go wash clothes and dry them with your children. Oh, guess what? George Sampson, a black man, an inventor, invented the clothes dryer. Because see, what you don't know is, like everything else that has been stolen from us, our children think other people created these inventions. They don't know that black people invented this. Do a litmus test. Ask them to name 3 inventors, black inventors, and what their invention was. And then ask them to name 25 rappers and the songs that made them great. If you don't believe me, do that test. And then you'll see how we are putting our children in this condition. And see, this is something that we have to, okay, now recognize and then move forward in 2024. Because we can't keep doing the same things. They have brought millions of migrants here to replace you. Okay. Right in your face, millions in our largest urban cities where black folks are. So you can sit around here and continue to do this crazy stuff all you want, but recognize that we have the power to change things. It is our mindset and the mindset that we're giving to our children by giving them choices, okay? And they're going to choose the garbage because that is what is perpetrated around the world. That is what the people that have you in the condition that we're in glorifies for our people, and not only glorify, but pay them enormous amount of fiat to perpetrate on our people. How about that? But you continue to regurgitate this stuff, okay, and then blame our children. You should carry around a mirror, because every time you see one of them or say something on there, you should hold a mirror up to your face. That's what you should do. It's time out for this, man. This is crazy. We're almost in a no-win situation. We can still come out of this, okay? We can come out of this, but we can't wallow in a pen with pigs, okay, and then expect to come out clean, okay? We can't expect to do that. Okay, now here's the other thing that affects our people. even I'll use myself as an example, talking here today. The first thing that our people do is think, because we've been indoctrinated by religion, well, you know, what is he? Is he some kind of moralistic or ethical? No, I'm not. I have a lot of vices. That don't have nothing to do with nothing. Okay. What I'm talking about is that regardless to what state you're in, hell, I see some crackheads that I've learned more from than people who are so-called intelligent. So stop letting these things affect how you communicate with each other. It is not, you are not responsible for what other people do. Don't concern yourself with that. We got a bigger problem, okay? We have a huge elephant in the room. And if our people in 2024 do not have a paradigm change, or what I like to refer to in our greatest lesson in nature, the metamorphosis of the caterpillar to the butterfly, we're going to be in trouble. We're going to be in big trouble. They're taking the jobs away from our people. I just heard a report, you know, about different cities here, including here in the Bay Area, where Black people are losing jobs in the droves. Okay. So I'm sorry. Okay. I'm not, the Academy is a Black think tank. You got all of these think tanks for European people, other people around the world and in America that they even give money to, okay, to bring out certain things about their culture. I'm not apologizing for the Academy being a Black think tank. In fact, I'm proud of that. Okay, because I know that nobody can say to me, you can't teach this to our people. You can't say this to our people. Oh, they can penalize you and shut you down like they try to do Lance every time you talk the truth. But ultimately, it's up to us, okay, to do this. And 2024 is a pivotal year for our people. Very. In fact, it's written in the stars. Okay, and if we continue this same behavior, then we don't have nobody else to blame but ourselves. So George Sampson, okay, actually changed and improved the way people dry their wet clothes. The global annual revenue is 25.1 billion, US 14.8 billion. Osborne Dorsey, inventor, one of my favorite young people. I talk about him all the time. When I see young people, I ask them who they, I mean, of course they don't know who Osborne Dorsey is, but again, this is our fault. A 16-year-old, every time you open a door, you tell your children, a 16-year-old Black kid invented the doorknob. Okay, 16 years old. He developed a patent for this doorknob. So don't tell me that our children can't do this stuff other than this old crazy degenerate stuff that they're doing. Don't tell me this. I ain't trying to hear it no more. Every Black child should know who Osborne Dorsey is, because every time you have to leave your house, you got to open a damn door. And unless you can say open sesame and it opens automatically, you got to grab a doorknob to do that. Every time you lock your door is a teachable moment to our children. Guess who invented this doorknob? No, take one of your children, lock that door for me, and then unlock it. Guess who is responsible for that doorknob you just locked and unlocked? See, our people have been miseducated. We have been taught, differently. Miseducation of the Negro. We've been taught, we've been deliberately taught through education on how how we learn. That is not how we learn. Okay, we don't learn through narratives. Okay, but our behavior is driven by narratives. And you know, in a funny kind of way, a lot of our children, they know it's BS. They know it. They know it. Okay. But because of you, they can't express it. Because then they're going to get chastised and penalized because they're not regurgitating, you know, the garbage that they're being taught. Yeah, but Osborne Dorsey is one of my favorite. This child developed a patent, and it's in the history books. Excuse me, it's not in the history books. The patent is listed, okay, in the records. Okay, the doorknob industry is 9.8 million industry in the door business, because you can't have doors without doorknobs in a house, is 1.2 billion. Samuel Stratton was an inventor of the curtain rod. Now, you cannot have privacy in your house without a curtain rod. Okay. You could not, your bathroom floor would flood over every time you took a shower if you didn't have a curtain rod to hang up a curtain. Okay. So the next time one of your children get ready to take a shower or open the curtains, see, this is what I'm saying. We have to begin now to look at how we're going to teach our children from an Afrocentric perspective. There's no more time for this craziness, okay? And all of it is right before us, but we've been taught to look away from it, okay? We've been taught to look away from this. This brother, Samuel Stratton, okay, created the curtain rod. The corporate industry is a curtain rod that's used not only in residential, but commercial settings all over the world. You see curtains. You see curtain rods. You see curtain rods and shower curtains. Okay, the annual revenue for the curtain rod industry is 7.2 million. Alexander Miles, an inventor, 1887. I talked to you about this before, Lance. Invented, because in New York, you step out one of those goddamn elevators, you might fall 100 floors. Okay, so he created the elevator device. Okay, the corporate industry is the elevator. Patent number 371207. He invented a device that allowed elevators to stop and open at each floor. Because prior to that, you know, the old way is the when it got to a floor, the elevator would have to he would have to open it by some kind of thing he pulls back and then open it, and then underneath there would be a whole drop. You know, like I said, it could be 100 floors down. So if that elevator malfunction, guess where you going? Okay, to one of those two of those places you believe in. Which is really not true. But anyway, just a little side joke. But yeah, man, this was a world-changing invention. Okay, a world-changing invention, because elevators can stop at each floor. If you wanted, before that, if you wanted to go, say, to the 5th floor, you had to walk up the stairs to get there. If the elevator didn't go up to the 5th floor. Okay, so this changed not only, again, not only in companies, but in malls and huge commercial buildings. What would it be like? What would the world be like without elevators? Or elevators being able to stop on each floor? It would be very time consuming. For what? You'd have to stay in shape to climb stairs every day, 2 or 3 times a day. The annual revenue for this is $13.7 billion. Okay. Moving right along. We have George T. Grant. George T. Grant is a dentist, or was a dentist in Boston. One of the first black men professors at, I believe it was Harvard. In 1899, he invented the wooden golf tee. The golf tee industry was created as a result of this. Now imagine, I don't play golf either, although I like the golf shirts. Imagine having to play golf and hitting the ball off of the ground in grass or in mud without a golf tee. Next time you see golf anywhere, black man, George T. Grant. Okay, so they, again, one of the things that they hide when they know that you're looking for certain information, particularly on black people like George Grant, they hide certain statistics. So, but common sense can tell you certain things. I was only able to get the annual revenue for the United States of $6.9 billion. However, there are 282 corporations that either manufacture or sell golf tees. And get this, in 70 countries. Now, this is a multi-trillion-dollar industry. 70 countries, okay? Over 282 corporations that I could find. Again, they hide certain information when they know you're looking for something about black people. Robert Fleming Jr., inventor. And excuse me, I have to make sure when I'm talking that I slow down and pronounce it correctly so you can understand me. And thank you, Brother Lance, for giving me the time, not having to rush. Robert Fleming Jr., inventor of the electric and the acoustic guitar. Now think about this. This will blow your mind. Think about what the world would be like without the guitar. He single-handedly created the enjoyment of billions on the planet and also allowed millions of people to earn a living as a musician. A brother, Robert Fleming Jr. Okay, our children don't know this. Think of the difference in their mindset if they knew this. So anytime you see a guitar, a black man, Robert Fleming Jr., who has the patent for it, created electric and acoustic guitars. This propelled the entertainment industry into one of the largest industries in the world. And the annual revenue is a staggering $21.4 billion. That was as of 2021. I'm sure it's a lot higher than that now. Moving right along, Lydia Newman, inventor, hairbrush, 1898. Hairbrush corporate industry was started as a result of this. She patented the first hairbrush with synthetic bristles. The annual revenue is $4.2 billion in 2023. Next we have Alfred Grail. Okay, Alfred Grail invented the ice cream scoop. Now, why is this important? Because you can't sell ice cream, okay, grabbing it with your hand. Okay, because if you do that, ain't nobody gonna buy it, okay? If somebody go into an ice cream parlor to buy ice cream and you scoop up the ice cream to put on a cone or in a cup in your hand, guess what's gonna happen? You ain't gonna have no customers. Okay, so this was a extremely game-changing invention in the world. February 2nd, 1897, he patented the first ice cream scoop. This propelled the industry into a global dynasty. Why? Because now people as I was saying, could scoop the ice cream, okay, and sell it to you in a cup or a cone. Okay. Now, this industry supports 28,800 direct jobs. This is 2020 figures, could be higher now. And it generates $1.8 billion in direct wages. But get this, the ice cream industry, the annual revenue in 2024 is $20 billion a year. So, you know, I don't know how else to say this, that, you know, what these people did to our people, man, is beyond comprehension. To see our people in the condition financially we're in today, it probably would have been better for aliens to come out of space and do this to us than people walking here on the planet, giving you a book talking about you living by the 10 Commandments, which, by the way, was taken out of the 42 Confessions of Me'at. Sitting here telling you all these lies, okay, about plagiarizing stuff, and then doing this to you. How could you do that? You know, how can our people continue this kumbaya bullshit? How, excuse my language, how can we continue to do this? When these people that gave you this religion, oh, by the way, that beat it into you, you could not even be baptized in the same river as they were baptized in. How could you continue to do this when you did? That's like, we know that somebody is coming to our community, okay, to what? To shoot it up, and we go out and we buy bullets for them. Okay, for lack of thinking of another way to say it right now. It's insane. Look at what just 70 of our ancestors have generated, not just for America, but for the world. But yet Black people are trampled on and despised by people who are envious and jealous of us, and that by the color of our skin. And there's no sugarcoating about that. That's all it is. But yet you and your descendants enjoy all of this wealth and your quality of life from just 70 of our great ancestors that we're talking about today. Let your head wrap around that. Okay, next up is Albert C. Richardson, the inventor of the butter churn. The butter churn in 1899, again, he was a brother that was threatened. His life was threatened. See, this is the thing, another thing that our people don't get credit enough for. We did all of this under threats. If not from the KKK, from the plantation owners themselves. Okay, while eating chitlins, which has no nutritional value, working in the hot sun for 10 hours, and then another 6 hours in the evening after the sun go down. And then a lot of times, depending on you, if you was a house of feeling, your work wasn't done. So you're starting to get the picture. Okay, but this brother, the annual revenue, and this blew my mind, but I factored in the butter industry, because butter has to be churned before it could be put into a solid state in order to sell to you. Okay, you ain't never seen no liquid butter. Okay, so the annual revenue is a staggering $51.6 billion. Frederick J. Loudon, inventor of the keychain ring, 1894. Okay, and you know, I was meditating and looking at, now how did they do this? They come in from the field, dead tired. They gotta lay on the floor on dirt when they sleep. They was lucky if they didn't have no pillows or quilts. They didn't have very much lighting. How did they accomplish this? When today we got people whining about every little thing. Okay, but this gave people the ability to put keys on one chain. Very convenient. That now you're able to secure all your keys on one chain. You can have a big ring, a little ring, however. But the annual, the global annual revenue of the keychain industry is $3.7 billion. Winding down here, we have, let's see, probably about 10 more. Arthur Zane, inventor, the cardio pad, the cardiovascular device industry was created as a result of this invention. Arthur Zane was 24 years old. This device detects and reduces the rate of heart disease. Very important. It saves millions of lives every year. The annual revenue is $59.8 billion globally, and it's projected by 2032 to be $127.2 billion. It's a wonder I don't get sick doing this stuff, man, because this is incredulous. One of the words I like to use when I can't explain something. This is there's no way to explain this, man. There's just no way to explain it. Michael C. Harvey, inventor of the lantern, 1884, created the lantern corporate industry as a result. Annual revenue, $50 million. Very convenient to have a lantern. You go places where you don't have to use electricity. John H. Smith, inventor of the lawn sprinkler, 1897, corporate industry, the lawn sprinkler. It allowed grass and plants to be watered when it didn't rain, when it was needed. Okay, he invented this rotary head that allowed it to go around and spray water in two different directions. Annual revenue, $2 billion. When you walk out and you see pretty green grass, John H. Smith. John Thomas White, inventor of the lemon squeezer. Corporate industry started lemon squeezers. This allows you to create lemon juice. Lemon juice is good in the summertime. Put ice in it. The annual revenue is $750 million. Okay. Let's see here. James Robinson, inventor of the lunch pail, 1887. This allowed people to now pack a lunch box for our children going to school and for people going to work. Annual revenue is $2.1 billion. It allowed millions of people to take their lunch to work and millions of kids or children to take their lunches to school. Paul S. Downing, 1891. And as I said, okay, you're talking 150, most of these inventions, okay, have been making money, okay, for a certain group of people for over close to 150 years. Some of them over that. And so I solely, but this next invention, some of y'all gonna have to go to the bathroom. When I got the figures on this was stomach turning. Okay. But our world couldn't function today without this brilliant brother's invention. Paul S. L. Downing, 1891, is the inventor of a mailbox. So every time you go to a mailbox or see one driving by with some of your children in the car, or if you're going to, the post office, you let them know that a black man, Paul Downing, invented the mailbox, which revolutionized the ability of people to communicate in a quicker way or expeditious way. Okay, that you no longer had to wait a month to get some type of communication from someone. Okay, this allowed the U.S. Mail and Postal Service to expand its operations. To me, this is one of the top 50 inventions ever created in the world. I'd have to say that. The mailbox rental and shipping companies are classified under the code, code 7382 and NATCS 5611. And that's important because that allows us to send mail to use rental mailboxes, and also for companies like FedEx, UPS, and now even Amazon taking over the market with Prime, with the Prime vehicles, to deliver mail, okay, all over the world. Let's see here. The business services sector, which is 1,500 firms that generate, get this, over $301 billion in annual revenue. This one brother, Paul Downey, who is responsible for creating and inventing the mailbox, makes it possible for the global elite and the thieves that have stolen everything from our people to generate a staggering $301 billion. I don't even want to talk about that anymore because that makes me sick. Thomas Stewart, inventor of the mop, 1883, patent number 499402. Corporate industry started mops, which are used in residential and commercial cleaning. Annual revenue for $448.5 million in 2022, projected to go to $522.5 million in 2028. John Love, inventor of the pencil sharpener, 1897. Now, this invention changed everything that we know and use in regards to teaching children to write, read and write. Not only children, adults. Okay. This brother created this invention that serves schools, artists, architects like Lance, designers. Without pencil sharpeners, you couldn't use it. Well, you could use a knife to sharpen it. Okay, but who want to have a whole bunch of knives somewhere for people to sharpen pencils, okay? Because all it would take is one of these folks that's filled with hate, okay, to use a knife against an innocent person. So again, the pencil sharpener revolutionized several corporate industries that none of them bear the name of this brother. None of these companies, none of these corporations, and more importantly, none of their descendants, as I always say, benefit from this. The annual revenue for this is $138 million in 2023. Okay. Let's see here. Yeah. Okay. Okay. We only have 2, 4, 6, 8, 9 more, brother. Joseph Dickinson, inventor of the piano. Okay, he invented a piano mechanism. Okay, that this corporate industry allowed, this mechanism allowed his roller mechanism flowed, allowed people to use the piano to play its music forward or in reverse. That's what I wanted to say. But sometimes I get confused in my own writing. But it generates annually $4.9 million. Pianos are very important. A lot of our people in the churches play pianos. People take piano lessons every day. They have this brother, Joseph Dickinson, to thank. Charles O. Bailiff, inventor, shampoo headdress. Now, this issue, just like with the beauty industry, I take offense to this when it comes to our sisters. Okay. The shampoo headdress allows, okay, the corporate industry is the shampoo headdress. It propels hair salons to greater economic prosperity. However, and I looked everywhere, I could not find a major subsidiary owned by a black female, or black male for that matter, anywhere. Okay, maybe somebody can find it. I couldn't. Okay. But yet our women, we already know, are the backbone of this industry. Okay. Along with the beauty supply industry. The annual revenue is $32.3 billion in 2022, is projected to go up to $41.4 billion in 2029. Why ain't our sisters investing in this? Since they are responsible for 84% of the revenue generated in these industries. See, these are the types of things that we can no longer just overlook. We cannot. It's already been put us behind the 8 ball, but now we're going to have to come from behind the 8 ball. Okay? It's just as plain and simple. Thomas Carrington, inventor of the stethoscope and the range oven, where you cook your turkeys and bake your chicken in, okay? And other goodies that we cook in. We bake cookies. We bake all kinds of things in a range oven. But the stethoscope allows physicians, very important, to listen to the heart, lungs, and the intestinal tract. It also checks for high blood pressure. We know an enormous amount of black people have high blood pressure, being put on these blood pressure medication, which is not good for you. You got to drink more water. Okay, this is what a lot of black people, I know that they're putting things in the water, but you got to find a way to drink more water than you're drinking. Okay, this is directly, and you got to stop using sugar. Okay, I struggle with this myself, so I'm not telling you something that I don't deal with. But for the most part, I've gotten that, under wraps. Okay, I use natural fruit, okay, to sweeten. If I want something sweet, I get a fruit. Okay, that's where I get it from. And because these soda pops that you be using, and these all of these products that have sugar, because if you go into wherever black folk, and you do this for yourself, don't take my word for it, and don't tell me this is not delivered. You go anywhere where there is a large population of black folks where they live, and everything is, all the liquid is going to be sugar products. No natural orange juice, no natural nothing, no natural apple juice, all sugar products. Don't take my word for it. Go in these convenience stores where our kids are buying all of this candy and sugar products from. You'll see exactly what I'm talking about. Okay, but this stethoscope was very important. The range oven was very important. The annual revenue for the stethoscope is $601.1 million. And for the range oven is, oh wow, $153.5 billion in 2021. There are a lot of range ovens. I guess there are ovens in every home, even in apartments. So, okay. Sister we all know and proud of, Madam C.J. Walker, I believe out of the Chicago area. The straightening comb, she patented. The rest is history. She generated this industry. The annual revenue is $587.9 million, or $500 million, and that's impressive. Last four here, Charles Brooks, inventor of the street cleaner. laughed with you about this the last time, Lance, that with city, without the street cleaners, you know, it'd be a terrible mess. And in most of our cities, it employs over 2 million people worldwide. It increases the cleanliness of our cities around the world. Annual revenue 1.99 million US, globally to 2022 4.4 billion. I'm sorry. And to me, one of the top 10 inventors of all times, Granville T. Woods, who's a visionary, had over 50 patents. This is somebody that a picture should be hung up in the homes of all Black people. The corporate industry that was the one that actually had the greatest impact, I believe, on society, even though there are more that he invented, is the railway trains industry, because he was able to invent a device that synchronized a multiplex railway telegraph, okay, that invented a way in which train stations and moving trains, we're talking millions of subway trains, railway trains you see everywhere, all over the world, okay. He developed this device that allowed trains to run, you know, through a coiled wire. So through the development of a magnetic field around a coiled wire beneath the train, this brother, Granville T. Woods, transformed transportation in the world. And he was the reason behind the Industrial Revolution. Okay? Don't take my word for it. If they didn't have trains, because trains was the first mode of transporting products around the country and around the world. Well, it was one of the after ships, okay? But it actually revolutionized transportation, okay? The transportation industry. The U.S. annual revenue is 107.8 billion, globally 2.96.5 billion. Last two, also a brother that's in my top 10, Garrett Morgan. They couldn't hold him, you know, out of the books, history books. They couldn't keep him out of history books. He was the inventor of the traffic light. Could you imagine what this world would be like? It would be utter chaos without traffic lights. Again, another teachable moment for our children. Okay, when you're driving in the car, you have to stop at a traffic light. Okay. Driving would be literally impossible in some of our larger cities without the traffic light. And the annual revenue is 28.4 billion in 2023. And last but not least, our brother Washington Martin. Very, very important name to remember. Why? Again, matter of fact, he was the inventor of the lock. Okay. So now you have not only our young 16-year-old brother, when you turn the knob, but when they lock the door or unlock the door, Washington Martin invented the lock. Okay. It is used all over the world. Okay. On doors. Locks are used for a lot of, not just on doors. Okay. They're used for a lot of different, we lock up things that we want to secure, you know, in different ways. It's used in its commercial use. It is very valuable. Also, let's see. This the lock was patented by Washington Martin on July 21st, 1889. It consisted of a cylinder, the cylinders you see in locks today, and a spiral spring coiled around a metal pin. This was the forerunner of the modern lock. which, of course, they upgraded. Annual revenue globally, 2.2 billion, and it's projected to go to 9.8 billion by 2032. And with that, Brother Lance, I'll conclude the presentation. I don't even know how long it is. It's long.
Excellent, excellent, excellent. That's all I can say. You look just as fresh now as when you started. That's the most amazing part.
Well, thank you for that compliment, but yeah, you know, sometimes information can wear you out just you know, repeating it. But I feel good about when certain information come forth with, I feel better about, because I know it's going to help with the issues that our people are dealing with. You know, and so
Exactly.
for all of these people out here that continuously, you know, put down our people and always try to paint us as criminals and, you know, people that don't have any, don't make any contributions to society and all of this. And say this, you could, the only reason you can say it is because our people don't put our people in their rightful place, because we have retained this jealousness and enviousness that we have been taught by the oppressors, by our oppressors of our minds and our bodies and our spirits. And because of this enviousness that we have, take a brother like Lance, who have done what he has done for our community and sacrificed over 2 decades, still receiving this type of hate from our own people. So in 2024, we can't blame nobody else. If Black folks end up in a worse condition that we're in today, it is because of us. And Brother Lance, with that, I got somebody coming at 3:30. I just looked at my watch. It's 3:30.
Yes. It's always a pleasure, brother. And thank you so much.
I wasn't talking to you, Alexa. Man, you know, this stuff is crazy, man. You know, but
who would have thought?
Helps me. Huh?
Right.
But they always listen. If they're not looking, they're listening.
That's right.
You know what I'm
Twisted
saying?
voyeurs, vampire voyeurs.
Right, exactly.
I don't know. Always get the coon to try to translate. What did he mean by that?
Oh yeah.
I know you know this black talk.
Yeah. So if you don't sound the way that they've been taught to sound, then you're wrong.
Right.
Regardless of the information that you're bringing.
Right.
But thank you, Brother Lance. Keep up the great work, man. And
thank you.
Again, you know, I'll try to keep up with you, but I gotta get sleep, man. And it's only one of me. I admire your dedication and commitment to our people, brother. Always grateful for that, and keep up the great work. And now that we have our way now to communicate on that level again, I'll be in touch with you.
Okay, thank you, brother. I'm here whenever, all the time. All right?
Okay. All right.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. Peace. All right, everybody, you have a good night. I'm going to work on some things behind the scenes, and I'm waiting for a phone call to get some more stuff down. If I get that phone call, I'm coming right back. It's going to be juicy. Mr. Political's recuperating, and he's on fire. He called me earlier. I'm just letting out the bag. He might not call, I'm thinking, but I'm hoping there's a 60% chance that he'll call, and I'll be working on something. And regardless, tomorrow, if he doesn't call, I'm home. I had to do a little run today, and you know, we're gonna put some stuff out there. We're gonna bang some content this week for real, all kind of stuff. I got some more stuff I'm gonna do. So thanks so much for just being here in the support, and it's just lovely. I love it. Thank you so much. I'm gonna sign off now and see what I can get going. Much love. Peace.
Make sure to go to LANCESCURV.com, an online magazine established in 2001, containing written articles, thousands of talk shows and discussions, cutting-edge cartoons, as well as erotic expressions and tasteful adult photography. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. Once you get a taste of the world of LANCESCURV, trust me, you'll be back for more. LANCESCURV.com. Bold, raw, and uncut.